Okay, I'm muted. Jesus Christ. I'm sitting here talking the whole time. So let's run this back, right? I can't believe that. I can't believe it. We're gonna go ahead and start this up. Welcome everybody to the Social Dig, the greatest underrated show on the World Wide Web, is what I was trying to say. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. Come on in and join the conversation. Get an ice cold beverage. Kick your feet up. We are getting into it. So yeah, muted. Can't believe it. We started it off muted. Hate it, hate it, hate it. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna continue with the conversation. I was inviting everybody in, so let me go ahead and go back through the list because you guys are all important. I appreciate you coming over. To Mothman, Carl Bittner, thank you for coming. Penny Van, thank you. Lightwalkers, thank you. Kira, appreciate you. Magneticus, thank you very much for coming. Let's see, let's keep going down the list. Adam Ants, thank you for coming. Susan Alloway, thank you for coming. Say Carl Bittner, appreciate you. Let's keep going down the list here. Crystal J, thank you for coming in. T-Bone, thank you for coming in. Summer, thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Let's see. Yeah. And I had such a great intro, but you guys didn't get to hear. Man. Van Gogh, thank you for coming on in. I appreciate you. Yeah, so what I was saying was, let me get to what I was saying. So basically, we had a great show earlier this week. One of the real episodes that we do normal episodes here at Social Dig where we cover topics and kind of do it in a delivery fashion. So if you missed Wednesday's show was UFOs, aliens, why are they here? It was a great show. This next Wednesday coming up, we will finally be able to do the Scientology show. It's all set up, ready to go. So all you need to do is show up. Those shows happen way earlier in the day. So the normal time for the Wednesday shows are 5 p.m. Pacific time. Obviously, a lot of newer people only know the call-in show, which happens very late at night. But I want you guys to know that we do have other content here at the Social Dig, so please make sure that you hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button. That way that you know that we got something going on here. So once again, I appreciate it. Lex Diaz, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. Brown Dwarf, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming in. Let's see. Christine, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get down to business. I hate when that happens, right? I hate when that happens. You get in a good roll. The mute button is on, and I'm just sitting here like a pantomiming my way through it. So this is still going to be an awesome show. I would love to hear from anybody out there. What we may do is start off talking about what the topic was earlier in the week on Wednesday, which is aliens, UFOs, why are they here, and then kind of get into some more conversation from there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So excited to talk to you tonight. The call-in number is 856-843-3444, or that's 856-THE-DIGG. And let me go ahead and get that put up here on the screen. That way you guys know. However, it is pinned at the top of the chat. So if you see that, and I see we already have someone backstage right now, but let me go ahead and get this number up here. And this is the number. So we'll keep it up here for a minute in case you feel like calling in. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and bring in our first guest here tonight, our first speaker. And that is none other than a guy I've known for a good little while here, Mr. Magneticus Attractus. What's up, Magneticus? How you been, man?
Can you hear me? Or do I need to switch headphones?
You're pretty low. Sound far away.
Hold on. Let me try the new headphones. They work much better.
Yep. Take your time. So yeah, with that being said, while Magneticus gets that together, so we got the whole new layout for the late night call-in show. So it's looking real fancy in here when you setting the mood and the ambiance. So let's go ahead and get it in. Brown Door says Mathneticus Attractus. Okay, that might be the new name, man. We know Magneticus is a numbers guy, so I can see that. I can see that. Lex Diaz is asking, do you know what it is that Roderick didn't want to say because it was too dark? Um, I don't know what part of the conversation you're referring to, Lex. I would have to listen back. I'm pretty sure I do know that we do talk pretty often, so pretty sure that if I could refer to what particular part of the conversation, I might be able to enlighten you a little bit on that. But with that being said, yeah, Magneticus has been around. Just like I was talking about on After Hours. I've known Rod for a long time, and Magneticus has been around since then. So since I had my first appearance on camera, Magneticus was there, right? You recall that, Magneticus? Am I telling the truth or am I not?
Yeah, you are. I have. I've
Okay,
been.
Magnet. Yeah, go
I'm
ahead. We
having
can hear you.
audio issues because I can't get these headphones to connect because
You
I had
sound
my
good
others
now.
connected. There
Yeah,
we go.
yeah, you sound
No,
good
wait a
now.
minute. Yeah, but it's not coming through on my headphones, which is a problem.
Oh, you can't hear me through your headphones? Okay. All
Oh,
right, go ahead and work that out and let me know
there we
when you're good.
go. No, I got it. Can you hear me now?
You can hear you now. Can hear you now.
I hear me in the back. I hear me in the background. So okay. So, anyways, yeah, I had during the other show, I kept hearing like a beep, like battery is going dead, and my phone or my headphones don't like my new headphones don't tell me they're dead on the phone. They just go to the and I got YouTube in the background playing too. Hold on.
And I'll tell you, it's a little clicky. So when you speak, it's a little clicky. Just so you know. I don't know if
I
that's going to
had
bother anybody.
I I had YouTube open in the back,
Yeah,
echoing back.
I think you'll be fine for right now. But
Okay.
yeah, so I was just telling everybody. So you've been around since way back, so you already know the history and oh, looks like he may have dropped out. So we'll get Magneticus back. So Magneticus, I'll tell the story. He goes back with us, man. Me and Rod. You know, I've known him for a while. I know Renee Cruz also knows about that from over at Why the Big Secret, and we've good friends, just real good friends. Magneticus has been there the whole time, and I really appreciate this guy. Even before I started this show, I knew Magneticus from previous endeavors. So Magneticus is an OG, and I think we just got him back in here right now.
Yeah, you did. I'm pushing the wrong darn buttons here. Sorry.
Okay, you're back. You're back. Yeah, you're good, man. You're good. So, and yeah, and that's why I'm just glad to, and I just like to do that because Magneticus, when this channel had, two viewers, Magneticus was one of those two.
I was one of
So,
those too, yo.
and I
That is
do
true. I
appreciate
was
you
one
for
of the
that
two.
too. Yeah,
Hmm.
when you found out I had the show, you came right on over, man, and supported, and I really appreciate that. And it's led to
Yep.
now we have a cool community here, which is a cool thing to see. You know what I mean? And I'm
Well, like
just
I
glad.
said,
I'm glad you're still hanging out.
it was that guy Magnetic Universe. He suggested on his community page SOR, and then on SOR, that's when Roderick was talking about his. I think he was 12 or something like that when it was about time the street lights were about to come off, and he
Yeah,
seen something. You know that story. So yeah, it was what 2 years ago, a year ago. It's been at least a year ago
yeah,
because Black League Alien Contact Knowledge was like we started that last year, and it was Why the Big Secret before that. And we all got our little hats. I think. Don't you still have your hat? No, you had the one other one.
the
What was that one
bandana.
called? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
still
yeah,
got it. I was gonna rock it for Rod tonight. I still got that, man.
yeah.
I was gonna
Yep.
rock it for him, but he changed his branding, so I was like, he knows I still
Uh,
have it
uh,
though,
uh,
man.
well, I got the two hats, the shirt. Well, I really didn't get the shirt. I got the Area 51 shirt with the alien on the front. I
Yeah,
like that one. I seen that alien. I'm like, ooh, I want to get that. And then, so I had that to go with my Why the Big Secret hat. And then I got the Black League of Alien Contact Knowledge because I like the alien and the Pharaoh's
mm-hmm,
garb
mm-hmm,
on the front of it, And I was like, yeah, I
exactly,
like that. I can go to church and sport that on other days besides Sunday.
exactly,
I can still wear it on Sunday. Nobody's seen underneath my overshirt. So
exactly. I mean, but you saw it all play out. You saw when I
yep,
felt when I felt like I needed to start this show in kind of in because of the humanity aspect and perspective. You saw that
right.
happen. You saw this, turn into what we're doing here today. It's been about a year now since this channel started, and I
Yeah,
just
but I
want to
like the
appreciate
evening
you.
show. I like the evening show better than like. Well, this is cool, but sometimes nobody wants to call in, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, exactly. And,
and
and
it's
that's
like,
that's the dynamic I'm trying to work out here, and that's kind of where I'm giving it a second wind, and kind of why I put some of the disclaimers that you see on the bottom. That when we do these shows, it's cool in the moment to have conversation that is entertaining to us to have because I just enjoy talking to you guys and vice versa. So, but the
right,
the where we have to look at is for the people who watch later, right? So what can because they're not live and able to respond to some of the things we're talking about. So we're kind of trying to construct this and keep it sticking to certain topics and just keeping the conversation interesting. So that's what I want to do
right.
tonight. So I don't know, did
And
you
you
get a
know me,
chance?
unfortunately, I usually throw out those random curveballs from out of nowhere.
Which is cool.
But
Which
if
is
it,
cool.
but if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to ask Jim Goodall about the diamond cells.
Ah,
So
okay, okay.
I mean, you think about where I am, and you know, just look to the eastern side of the mountain. That's all I'm gonna say. You know where I am. So,
Exactly.
and you know what was going on back in the day in the eastern part of the state. So, you know, just like I could tell you about, I don't know, it was like preschool age maybe, and sitting in a black international semi truck in the sleeper. You know how
Mm-hmm.
hot it gets hiding in the sleeper of an international truck that's going to a
Oh yeah.
military base to drop off a heavy piece of equipment, and nobody on the military base can know that you're on there or in that truck.
That's bananas, man. I don't even know if you should be saying that, man. You might have some.
I had a heat stroke. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't tell you anything. I was told miles before the base to disappear in the cab and not to emerge for nothing. You know what I mean? And not to make a sound, but in the heat of the day, waiting for the heavy piece of equipment to be offloaded on the trailer, I started vomiting Butterfinger. And to this day, I still can't eat a Butterfinger. I mean, I can occasionally, but it's like it brings back that memory of sitting in that truck, getting heat stroke and vomiting all over the place. And
Damn.
it was like as soon as we got off the base, because you knew everything that happened on the way into the base. The guard checks the truck, checks the manifest, says go here or wherever, and you go wherever he points to. So I couldn't tell. I couldn't even tell you where the base was. Just it was
Yeah.
in Arizona somewhere, or New Mexico maybe. I don't know. It
Look,
was New Mexico, Arizona, one of the two. But
Lightwalkers is saying what magneticus? We have to preface with magneticus. You have to speak the magneticus language. That's what you'll learn. With magneticus, you have to read between the lines sometimes, and to translate some of the things the magneticus say. I understand what he's saying at this point, but there was a point when I didn't. When he was sending me stuff, and I'm like, "What in the world is he sending? Like, what does this mean? Where I would have to sit there and think about it. But that's the thing. That's why I love magnetic is because
just
he makes you
just
think.
just look at the stars I sent. Roderick. I mean, they cost me nearly $6 a piece to send to them. You know what I mean? And I got
Ex-
$5 invested. So, and then
Exactly.
33 and 1/3 minutes of my time to make them. So, and
Look,
so,
look. I
and
want to. I want to tell you this first, Magnetic, is because T Bone is asking, Mr. Rob G. Speaking of Scientology, are you familiar? And the answer is yes, I am. And you'll see on the show on Wednesday. It's just Scientology is so it goes so deep. It goes to like things that we could talk about Scientology for months straight. That's how deep Scientology goes, and the intricacies and little this and that's and things that happen within it. And we will be covering as much as we can. That's why I had to actually split it into two parts. So we'll do a part one on Wednesday and a part two the following Wednesday. So this coming Wednesday. So Magnetic is I'm just telling you that because this Scientology show has been on the roster
on the
since
radar for
September.
like 2 months or
Exactly.
something, 3 months, whatever it's been. Yeah, it's been
And
months.
and the only reason why I hadn't tackled it is because I was getting after hours together. It's the only reason why, and it's only so much
I thought you
time
were
in the
brave.
day.
I thought you're brave for even touching the subject. So,
And that's the thing, right? Because I want to save this story, but I guess I could just say this because I'll just say it again on Wednesday. But my brother had an interaction with them, and this is that because I dove into it. Probably 5 6 years ago, somewhere around that, like deep, like consuming as much as I could consume on Scientology. And my brother was also into it, and he decided one day on his way home from work that he was going to stop by one of the centers, not go in, but just kind of across the street, kind of just briefly stop. Engine still
right,
running, just foot on the brake, and kind of just looking. Okay, that's a Scientology building. He left. He was there for no more than a minute,
couple
maybe
minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
And when he got home, about 15, 20 minutes later, he pulled into his stall and someone came to his driver's side window, tapping on the window. And I don't know if they took a picture or they did something. They made some sort of gesture. And what it was it was a private investigator on behalf of Scientology that followed him home because he stopped and took a look at the building. I don't know if he took a picture
Well,
of
I
it when he
mean,
stopped.
but in these days, I mean, you got to wonder. You know what I mean? Because when I don't know, it was like one of my friends. He used to have a job before he retired, working on like bulletproof vehicles and stuff. You know what I mean? And so once you get to that like echelon, like Billy Carson, you know what I mean? When you're at his level, you got a lot of people that will attack you for all sorts of just stupid reasons. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of be prepared that way. I
Yeah.
can kind of understand. I mean, like when he does his Egyptian trips or whatever, I know I'll never be able to afford it. I don't think, but he provides the armed security. Because when you have that armed security around you, anything that doesn't look, because people in the group they might not be aware of something that is completely obvious to the swimming ducks, as Roderick puts it. You know, and so you just got to have your little circle of friends around. So I could see him like investigating for that part because he just stopped for a second, kind of checked it out, like, if I was gonna drop off something nefarious, I could see him wanting to, what was your intent for just stopping there and looking, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it does. But I'll tell you
I mean,
what
I
it
would put you
is.
on the radar.
Well,
Is what I'm
here's
saying.
what it is more so what it is that they are there's so much corruption and so many bad things happening within Scientology. They're wary of anyone who pays attention to it. So not even that they feel like this person might do something. They simply don't want anyone finding out what it is that they're doing on the inside. So they would I feel like they were looking at my brother as like maybe he was a private investigator and he was checking out Scientology. So what they do is they have because they have so much money, and we'll get into this on Wednesday. But because they have so much money, they're bought in with the police force, the local police force, in all the cities that they're in, pretty much in their little area of the city. And a lot of the times they're able to do something as simple as take down your license plate, call their buddies in law enforcement, have them run your information so they can get information on who you are. And then they look
Mm-hmm.
further into who you are to determine if you are someone who is attacking Scientology and not physically attacking, but just pretty much trying to open up the truth. And we'll get into that. There's a whole process that they go through, and it's really crazy. So I don't want to spill
Right.
all the beans,
Yeah. No.
but
No.
kind
No.
of kind
No.
of
That's
just
fine.
touching on it. But
Yeah.
what I did want to do, but that was the answer to that. And then Derek Galloway, Wu Train Riders DG says, we talking Scientology. My sister and her wife are full fledged members because Derek is in Florida, and I don't know if his sisters are there, but their pretty much their headquarters is out in Clearwater, Florida, and they pretty much own that entire town. And we'll be getting into that too. But kind of shifting gears because I don't want to make it all about Scientology. We had the
You
show
want
on
to talk
Wednesday.
another one? You want to talk about
What
another one that's weird? Is
what do
the
you got?
Jay Z Night compound? You ever been by that place?
The who?
Never heard of Jay Z Night
Jay
or
Z
Zebra?
Night.
Yeah,
No.
Zebra Night. Oh,
Talk to me. What is
so
it?
okay, so it's like this little cult compound or whatever over in Yelm, Washington, and it's like just the weird stories you hear from the place. Like apparently, one guy was doing some work for him or whatever, and there was people that just kept running into trees because apparently this Jay Z Knight told them that if they believe strong enough, they can just walk through the tree. And then I had
Mm.
somebody I knew that worked at the local hospital. They told me there's a lot of head injuries that come from that place, and I'm like thinking, okay, so one person's telling me how they walk into trees trying to walk through it, and then another person's telling me there's a lot of head injuries that come from that place. You know? So I always
Wow.
tell people if you want to stop at one of the compounds there on that corner, go to the Buddhist compound across the street. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of creepy when you go by there because I always tell people when you look at a barbed wire fence, what do you think about when you look at a barbed wire fence? What's the first thing you think about when you look at a barbed wire fence, Rob?
Razor blades
What about them?
that they'll slice you open, cut you open.
Are they pointing away from the building or towards the building?
Usually away.
And if they're pointing towards the building, you're probably in prison. They don't want you getting out.
True, true,
And
true.
that's the one thing I looked about that compound when I drove by was the barbed wire on both sides of the fence. So they don't want you
Yikes.
coming in and they don't want you coming out. And
Yikes.
I heard on you get on their bad sled like me talking about it now, I'll probably, you get the weirdos coming following you
Yeah.
around or whatever.
No, they
And
will.
and and so yeah.
They will. They will. And I'm seeing, I'm looking through the chat and I'm seeing everybody talk about Scientology. And I want to talk about it so bad, but
Right?
then I'm just going to mess up the show for Wednesday. So I'm not going to do it. But a lot of the
Right?
stuff you guys are saying in the chat is absolutely correct. And, it goes deep and there's names and oh my gosh, it's just a wild situation. So if you are interested, definitely 5 p.m. Pacific, however that translates to where you are. We'll be having that discussion on that day and kind of showing some, going over some information. If you had a chance to see this last Wednesday show, then you kind of get an idea of what the normal setup is here at the Soldier Dig and how we kind of deliver the information. So, but it's still open to conversation. It's just not as free flowing as like the call in here. But I would
Right.
love to have you guys there to kind of Talk about it. It says, what's going on
I
Scientology?
guess
Copy now.
I guess we need to tell the audience to
Yep.
tune in Wednesday and save their
Ye-
Scientology input for
yes.
that conversation. So when
Yes.
people watch the replay and the live chat is sitting there for people to see, it's like boom, they get the conversation that was going
Yes.
on with the conversation.
Yes.
So
Yes. Excellent input,
yeah.
Magneticus. Definitely. So it'll be going. It'll definitely be awesome on Wednesday. But what I wanted to get into tonight, because I figure the way we could kick these call-in shows off is, especially I'm gonna start doing them for now once a week. I thought I'm going to continue at two a week at some time down the line, but I think once a week, what we can do with that is kind of start the conversation off with whatever happened on the show on that previous Wednesday. So with the other
Right.
show we had on Wednesday being aliens and UFOs, why are they here? Is we can get some insight. I don't know how many of you out there had a chance to see that show, but if you haven't seen it, I would say go and watch it because I think it was pretty good. I think we delivered a lot of good information in that show. But if you just Magneticus, that question, why do you think they're here? Like in your own mind, if when you sit down and think about the ET presence, why do you think they're here?
I don't know why they're here.
If you had to guess.
Um, because they can. I mean, why are any of us here when we think about it? I mean,
Oh,
besides,
yeah, yeah,
our
yeah.
parents bump uglies with each other, and 9 months later we popped out. Usually, usually.
I
I mean,
I can
there's
see that.
variants.
I can see that.
I
I can
mean,
see that.
you're talking to a guy that what was it, second grade, Aurora, Colorado. I had something sitting outside my second floor window, projecting images on the wall. You know,
Right.
Egypt and star maps, and then later it was like these webs of wires and Mercury, and I'm like sitting there going, what? Because you go look around, there isn't no webs of. Well, let me turn on my camera for a minute. Uh, Push the right button. Face them forward. Yeah, like these.
Exactly. What do you got?
There. That's one of my little webs. You don't see my nail hanging in there?
Yeah, you got a bunch of stuff written on there too.
Oh, they're paint sticks.
Oh,
Sherwin-Williams paint
okay,
sticks.
okay, okay.
And then I use. Hold on a second. I forget I have a tripod and I have more light. And you can still hear me when I walk away from my phone. It's great. All right,
Yeah.
so let's get this where we can see. And like I said, oops, I still have my Why the Big Secret hat. I have,
Shout out to Rod.
yep. KC decides to call in. You can remind him that I gave him a little PR. There's my favorite alien shirt from the Project Black.
Right.
And then there's the Area 51 shirt.
Oh, that's sick. I like that.
Like how I wrote 18 on the hanger.
I like that.
Oh. So yeah, that was one of those that after reading the Bible I came up with was the the nail being suspended and
Okay. So it's suspended just with the tension of the string.
of the
Okay.
lines. So where is it? That side. Ouch! I don't know how many times I've been poked by these toothpicks. If I take that out of my mouth, you can probably hear me better. So there's the start and end of the string right there. Kind of like the symbology of the snake eating its head. So this string goes to this side or that side. I can't remember which one this is because one of them. I mean, if you look at the two of them side by side, they look the same,
Mm-hmm.
but they're different. They are different. I assure you, they're different. And let's see. Take that off of there. I got one there. Need one. Wait a minute. I need to check the polarity first. All right. That needs to go that way. That needs to go. Get on there. Ouch. One of these days I'll learn. All right. And then that needs to go there. And that. Boom.
Oh, that's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. So,
Leave it up to this
Neil,
guy.
like I said, nothing worse than you have dreams, or at least you think they're dreams, of visitors with these strange contraptions that are counter rotating. And then there's mercury. There's a puddle of mercury that's supposed to sit out on the edge of these webs.
That's
But I can't.
bananas, dude.
But I can't hang my 2 ounce weights on there because I don't have enough magnetic
You
attraction there.
opening up the vortex, man.
That's what somebody the other day said. They're like, "You're opening up a portal," and I'm like, "What?" But I know if I switch the string to wire, it makes magnets like right here, and then they come out and around like the atomic symbol of
Yeah, if you
the
guys have
electron.
ever watched previous episodes of the Calling Show, you see Magneticus build wild stuff like that. Oh, that's still a Christmas tree. I see it.
No, I got all the decorations off except for the jingle bells and the lights. I couldn't find my bells though, because I was gonna have it running.
Magneticus is building a time machine. It's not a watch. It's a device that's going to take us back in time. Um, we're just waiting for him to build the flux capacitor, and we'll be good to
Flux
go.
capacitors, right there.
That's what I'm saying. That's how. That's
Jars of
you
magnetic
got to have
oxide.
you got to have an inventor and a scientist on your team, man. And we got Magneticus, so we're good to go.
Like I said, it's oops. As you can see, it's magnetic flux capacitors, as you always claim. Let there be
Yeah,
light.
that's
Oh, okay.
bananas. That's bananas.
Yep.
So what else do you got for us? You have that was the stars, the latest thing that you put together.
That's the latest one was the stars getting that together and counter rotating and kind of like my wind spinner thingamabob. That one spins that way, that one spins that way, no matter which direction. Oops, guess you can't see it very well. There you go.
Yeah, yeah,
It's dark
yeah.
out here.
Oh,
So,
that's sick. That's sick.
and then I got this pump into this one, and then it goes down through the vortex. Not sure if you're going to be able to see it or not. And then those four pipes spin all that water around and around and around, and it'll come to this S trap, and that pours it back into the bucket. Pumps it back into this one. So water filter, doomsday prep.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I said, man. You the first guy. You the first guy I'm calling, man. You the first guy I'm calling, man. You ain't worry about that. When the stuff
You're a
hits the
little far
fan,
away
I'm
to call
calling
me,
you, buddy. Nah, it's okay. Believe me. I know where the general vicinity of where you're at. I'm just heading
right?
that way, and then we'll link it up when I get out there.
Right?
Like
Yeah, my church
Magneticus,
is
he
like
said, by the
they
hills.
they promote emergency preparedness, and when it came to my emergency preparedness, I was like, I'm gonna try to get to my sister's house. That's not far
Look,
away because I know
look.
there's generators and there's barbecues and there's wood and water and
That's what I was saying earlier, right? So
you
when we
don't you
talk
don't keep
about
all your
ham,
eggs in one basket. And like I said, if you take one of my little star things and you replace the string with wires, you got an antenna. You just got to connect it to the nail, and it will pump out juice to in every direction, just like Exmouth. I showed you the link to Exmouth, right? Down in Australia.
yes, yeah, yeah, X
Okay.
mouth,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Maggie M10 joined was on my live stream the other day. I don't remember what I was doing. I was testing out the microphone or the headphones. That's what I was doing because I got
Million
these new.
10.
I haven't seen her tonight.
Haven't seen her in a minute,
Last week.
man. And I hope she comes around soon. Next time you see her, let her know that we have Mary Rodwell. That was the person she requested to see on After Hours, and we have her coming in a few
R
weeks.
O
So
D
hopefully,
W E L L.
yep, Mary Rodwell
Okay.
from Australia.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. So I got her for her specifically. So she has to be at that show. But yeah, it's about all being prepared and doomsday prepping. Like I was saying earlier, I used to think that stuff was crazy. I used to think that these dudes were off the rocker, right? But then I just figured out after a while that man, it really isn't that wild. Especially when you see things happen where we had the whole plague situation where society kind of almost crumbled to its feet, and it's like, dude, it doesn't take much. Like this bubble is pretty fragile, and why not be prepared in the event of anything happening, right? So, do you have Do you have one of these CBs, or I mean, this is it's a
Rob
radio that
G.
operates on ham frequency.
I was hounded by the FCC because they couldn't figure out the source of the interference on the local football game.
The FCC came to you because what?
My wheel running in the other room. It was producing a little bit more RF than I was supposed to.
Wow, wow,
And
wow.
so you know the story of Nikola Tesla working on his earthquaker machine, right?
What happened?
You don't know the story about this Nikola Tesla and the
The
earthquake
earthquake
machine?
machine? No, no, no. Tell me
Okay,
about
so
it.
anyways, he was experimenting in his laboratory up in the building, and he started shaking a 5 pound weight, right? And apparently that 5 pound weight started shaking the whole building, and then it started shaking the ground around the building. Just a
Hmm.
5 pound weight shaking around, And needless to say, it wasn't until the police kicked down his door that he realized that he was shaking more than just his laboratory. So, and that's how it was with me for the FCC. But my device acts like a Thurman device, so if you come around my perimeter, I know you're there. I might not know who's there, but I know somebody's around. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I went out looking, and here comes three guys. Two are wearing army fatigues and wearing nice blue. One's waving a big antenna. One's wearing a headset, and the one in blue is like taking notes.
Dude, did they come in and
So
take a look at what you had, or
well, no. They came like right at my apartment, right? They came right at my apartment from like out of the woods, and I'm like going, what the hell? And then I went and unplugged my contraption, and they're about a half a block away. Like they're trying to triangulate where the source of the signal was. And as soon as I unplugged my device, I seen the guy with the antenna start turning back around and trying to figure out where the signal went.
trying to get the signal back? Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then I realized it was me, and then it was like, sorry, I wasn't trying to cause interference, and then I ran my device for a little bit, went for a walk in my neighborhood with a portable AM radio, and I was like, holy, you know what I mean? Because
What
it
type
was
of
a big,
frequency were you generating? What frequency was it? Do you know, or do
mainly,
you just know that?
mainly between 900 and 1,000 on the AM dial. It
Oh,
was the
okay.
diodes I was using. They had a 900 megahertz switching speed on them or whatever. So
Yeah, they don't play.
yeah, no. So that's why you don't see me usually. If I run any of my high voltage devices, it's only for like a couple minutes because I'm really not trying to get in trouble for causing interference
Right,
on the radio, and everybody
right,
in my
right.
neighborhood can't listen to the football game because I'm causing interference on the radio.
And it's a real
So
thing. What happens
yeah.
is it's not even the FCC that if somebody rats you out to the FCC, and then the FCC investigates afterwards. So you had to been doing this for a while, and someone in your
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood complain to
Probably
them.
many, probably. Well, I'm telling you the situation of it. It was probably. I mean, I was like a block and a half with just a small portable radio. Like an old Walkman.
Man, that's
And I
crazy,
was a block.
man.
I was a block away, block and a half away from my house, and I could still hear it on the radio going click 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 click
Yeah,
click click.
yeah, exactly.
And so then I was like, oh, and so then I stopped charging up capacitors to 700 volts from 12 volts, and I didn't have the loud signal all around the neighborhood, you know.
Yeah,
So but that's how it worked. Like a thermon is like apparently that energy it was sending out would reflect off people, and it would affect the switch on. I don't know how it affected the switch on my device, but it caused my switch to go from clack 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 to clack 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 clack. You know what I mean? So
right,
whenever somebody came through a certain perimeter, it was like I could tell you were there. Because I heard
right.
that audio change in my switch, and yeah, I was just, I mean, I was honestly just playing around with wireless energy transfer, and I had like a pair of speakers that were just hooked up to an antenna, and a pair of diodes and a couple of capacitors, and those speakers, 12-inch woofers, would just be like, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I had a buddy back in Sacramento who was running a pirate radio station, and the FCC came and shut him down twice. But that's the thing. See, they don't normally come out on their own. They usually if someone has to
yeah, it
tell on you.
usually takes it takes a complaint, and I mean, I honestly didn't know I was causing interference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
once I realized I was causing interference, I'm telling all my neighbors, I'm like, if you experience any kind of like paranormal, you notice a plate just picks up off the fucking counter and goes across the room, let me know. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I might be tinkering something in my house that's affecting your house.
Right.
And
Right. Which is why you might
so,
open up a portal and not even realize you're doing it because you're over there
so when people
tinkering with
try,
stuff.
So when people try to make fun of me for experimenting in my mother's basement, I can tell you my mother's basement was subterranean. So, why would I be subterranean? To shield the radiation on the horizon. You know what I mean? I don't really care if it's like going straight up in the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it's when it's like going in a wide area, that was the problem. And like I said, when you got the local football game being broadcast and you're causing interference, it's kind of a problem. So, and I know one of the fun things I like doing with the radio is like it drives my wife nuts. Is I'll turn the AM dial to 1440, which is like usually static in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And if you sit in certain places, like along the military baseline fence, you could pick up radio stations like down in Medford, Oregon.
Yeah, that's
Look
pretty
at that on the
wild.
map. Look how far JBLM is from Medford, Oregon. I don't know
Yeah, yeah.
where their last retransmitter is, but it's still a good distance because I know they don't broadcast that much around their local area. So because you have your repeater stations, like when you're in Seattle, if you go to Queen Anne Hill, there's like three big antennas sitting up there, and that's Como, Cairo, and King Five or whatever, and whoever else uses them for the radio stations. Those are your three
Mm-hmm.
main television broadcasters: ABC, NBC, and CBS. You know,
Right.
so yeah, yeah, yeah. And then there's always the Fremont Troll if you're ever in Seattle. Don't forget to leave your junk car parts there: broken light bulbs, burnt out alternators. Leave homage to the troll.
Right. Right. Right.
uh,
So let me
best
see.
best cut, huh? Somebody
Let me
else coming
see.
in?
No, 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 not yet, not yet.
Oh,
We got it's just me and you for now. The so those repeaters, yeah, those repeaters are on top of mountains, right? And they allow it's like a relay, right?
rebroadcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. It has
Exactly.
an input output, and they usually the output's pointed back. Well, I mean, you know how a radio works. It only has like so much range depending on how much wattage you put into it. So
Right.
the more wattage, the longer distance, or the bigger bubble around it. And then, of course, the reason I get it is because of skip. Atmospheric skip, because AM likes to skip along the ionosphere, I think.
Right. And hold on, I'm checking something out real quick. All right, because I hold on, I'm queuing something up. One moment there.
Okay, that's why I'm hearing sound. I'm like thinking you're playing something. And I went and looked, and there's nothing playing except for me and you on the screen.
Yeah, can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it slightly in the background.
Oh, okay, you're
I
hearing
mean,
through my
I can.
headphones.
Yeah,
Okay.
you probably hear. Yeah, I hear a little bit
I
of
just want to
echo,
make
but
sure
not
it's not
much.
broadcasting on the show yet. Let me see. Because what I want to do is what I want to do is take a look at something pretty fun here. This was this was something that I'd done. You remember Mateo was still on the show here,
Yeah.
and we had this day we had Tim Senor as a guest, and I always refer to this here because when I talk about, and this is a fun sort of thing. I put this graph together that kind of shows you all sides of the conversation that we have within ufology, where it depends on where you fall. So I have this graph I created that shows where the conversation should be had. You probably remember the show, but they have skeptics, non-skeptics. You have extreme skeptics, and you have extreme
Oh
non-skeptics,
yeah,
which
I
are
remember. I remember that
believers.
pie chart. I remember that
Yes.
pie chart.
So
Yes.
yeah, go ahead, Derek Galloway. Go ahead, send whatever you have. I'll check it here in a moment. So yeah, so what I want to do, because I keep bringing this up, but I think during that show it was explained pretty well, and I just want the current viewers to be able to see that, so when I speak to it, they know what it is that I'm talking about without having to rehash the whole thing again. So let's
Right.
do that real quick, and I know we have obviously the people here in the chat, but we may even have some people that aren't in the chat that might be viewing. So to you, to the viewers that may not be in the chat, just want to let you know, thank you for coming on in. And if you haven't, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Maybe hit the like or dislike, depending on how you feel about the show. But we love to have you back. Like I say, we have awesome conversations here on the weekends with the call-in show, but during the week on Wednesdays we have the structured social dig shows where we cover specific topics. So it's definitely a great place to come hang out. So just want to let you guys know that. And what I want to do is we have like I was just telling Magneticus, we have this conversation. Well, I often bring up, the differences between skeptics, non-skeptics, and how it's good to have skeptics as a part of the conversation that we have, and how it's good to have both sides as long as both sides are open-minded. This day we had Tim Senor as a guest. This is like from season one of the Social Dig, and it's a little short segment that I just wanted to make sure that people got a chance to see, and then we can go ahead and jump back into that to the conversation right after this. So let me go ahead and bring that up real quick here, and it's a short little thing here, but I want to make sure people get to see this. And let me, is that showing Magneticus on the screen? Okay, it
Yep.
is.
You see, gray people and gold people.
Okay, and now it's stretched out. Great. Okay, so let me just play this real quick here, and then we'll jump back into the conversation here. All right, so topic of the show, the main topic, meat and potatoes. We're going to go ahead and get into skeptics versus non-skeptics. This is a pretty serious topic to me. I feel like I stated earlier in the show, we've come to a point to where we have all these things happening. You have people like Ross Coulthard and others that say, why won't people come aboard and understand what's going on right now? And this is like the one of the most important moments in humanity's history, and just people can't understand why the movement can't come together for us to push for disclosure and to go on forward as humanity. And sitting down thinking about it, I really, like I stated earlier, and I've said in previous videos as well, is that when I think, and I'll just quote what I said in the video, which was when I think of the term ufology, which I don't like that term, um, I think of Scientology, because both seem to be rooted in deep rooted belief systems. So they almost mirror each other. And I'll say the extreme side of ufology. So when I look at that, I being that now I'm on the inside of ufology, I know I can see that there's a difference between what the position that I take and then someone who is on the extreme side who has a belief system that doesn't line up with, that doesn't tie in at all to where we need to go to get to disclosure. So it doesn't benefit it at all. And I looked at the skeptics, and some skeptics that stand hard on, no, this is just not possible. ET could never get here. It would take so long for them to get here. It's just impossible. They're not here. They're not in the skies. It's not happening. And then I realized at that point that there aren't only skeptics, but there are also extreme skeptics that are on the far end of the spectrum. And I kind of put together a graph to kind of illustrate that so we could kind of talk about it, and talk about the cult type behavior on the extreme side of the non-skeptical here in ufology, which I feel like doesn't benefit the movement or doesn't benefit humanity going forward. And then also the extreme side of the skeptics who are just closed off to not even giving a slight, inkling that this could actually be a real thing. Now, the graph that I put together shows this here. So this is Earth. This represents humanity. So in the middle is where we would hope to be. So the goal would be to be able to sit together and have an open-minded conversation. Now, the skeptics that I respect are skeptics that have open minds and can be open to the possibility, being given evidence that the phenomenon is real. Same thing on the non-skeptical side. If a skeptical person was to present evidence to show that, look, this isn't real, it's actually uh, prosaic explanation for what's going on, then we can come together and figure out what we're going to do next. It's the extreme side. So both sides of the spectrum that I feel like are the ones that get in the way of us moving forward in this. So before we jump all the way in, I'm just going to read something about
It's
skeptics
interesting.
versus non-skeptics. So skepticism and non-skepticism are two opposing positions in the realm of epistemology, which is the branch of philosophy concerned with the study of knowledge and belief. While non skeptical positions emphasize the importance of accepting certain beliefs as true, skeptical positions approach knowledge with doubt and critical scrutiny. Non skeptical positions are characterized by their emphasis on accepting certain beliefs as true. These positions are based on an assumption that we can have knowledge of the world through observation and reason. Non skeptics believe that there are certain things that can be known with certainty, such as mathematical truths or the existence of the external world. They argue that our senses are cognitive faculties and reliable, and that we can trust our perceptions of the world. Non skeptical positions also often appeal to authority, tradition, and faith as sources of knowledge. So, on the other hand, skeptical positions are based on the premise that we should doubt and critically scrutinize all claims to knowledge. Skeptics believe that we should question our beliefs and assumptions and avoid accepting anything as true without sufficient evidence. They argue that our senses and cognitive faculties are fallible and that we can easily deceived or mistaken. Skeptics are often characterized as doubting everything, including the existence of the external world, the reliability of our senses, and the validity of our reasoning. So, one of the key differences between skeptical and non skeptical positions is their approach to evidence. Non skeptical positions often rely on empirical evidence and deductive reasoning to support their claims. They argue that if something can be observed or logically deduced, then it must be true. Skeptical positions, on the other hand, are more critical of the empirical evidence and deductive reasoning. They argue that there may be other explanations for what we observe and deduce, and that we need to be cautious in accepting any claim as true. Now, that's what we know. And that's the basic understanding of skeptic versus non-skeptic, and I'm fine with that, because there should be a little bit of both in the conversation, and that's why we should be, as far as regular skeptics and regular non-skeptics, we can sit at the table and speak to each other and be led either way. We all walk the middle of the road, essentially, mostly the middle of the road. Now, the extreme sides of this, though, um, extreme skeptics. Let's see. We're going to do extreme skeptics versus regular skeptics to kind of put that into perspective. So, skepticism, a regular skeptic is someone who approaches claims with a healthy dose of skepticism, but is open to being convinced if presented with sufficient evidence or rational argument. Regular skeptics are critical thinkers who value evidence and reason, but are not closed off to new ideas or perspectives. Now, in contrast, an extreme skeptic is someone who is deeply skeptical of almost everything to the point where they may be unwilling to believe anything without overwhelming evidence or proof. Extreme skeptics may be overly dismissive of evidence or arguments that do not align with their preconceived beliefs and may even reject widely accepted scientific or historical facts. Extreme skeptics are often seen as being unreasonably skeptical, as they take skepticism to an extreme level that can be difficult to justify. They may be perceived as being closed minded or unwilling to consider alternative viewpoints, which can make it difficult to engage in debate or dialogue. So, an extreme non skeptic versus a regular non skeptic, would be a regular non skeptic is someone who accepts claims based on various factors, such as personal experience. So, confirmation is what Dave likes to call it, intuition, cultural norms, or authority figures. Regular non skeptics may not necessarily require evidence or rational argument to believe something, but they are open to questioning and evaluating their beliefs if presented with conflicting information or arguments. In contrast, an extreme non skeptic is someone who accepts claims without question or scrutiny to the point to where they may be unwilling to consider alternative viewpoints or evidence. So, same as a extreme skeptic. Extreme non-skeptics may rely solely on personal experience, intuition, or faith, and may be unwilling to consider other sources of evidence of reasoning. Extreme non-skeptics are often seen as being unreasonably credulous, as they take non-skepticism to an extreme level that can be difficult to justify. They may be perceived as being closed-minded or unwilling to question their own beliefs, which can make it difficult to engage in constructive debate or dialogue. So if you look at that, there's so many similarities opposite of each other. So if you were to bring to the attention of a skeptical person that actually they may be extremely skeptical, which can be looked at as, I look at it as almost like a religious thing for them as well, because it isn't that they use the word believe, but they actually believe in not believing. So that that essentially makes them religious, or makes what they're doing sort of a religious sort of thing. They believe in not believing. Then you have extreme non-skeptics, which end up being the ones that believe, period, in no matter what, and they believe potentially in things that may not have any sort of proof or fact. They just believe what's being told, the narrative. So uh, on the non-skeptical side, extreme, to me, and like I said earlier, I kind of line that part of ufology up with Scientology. And essentially, those are like cult like influences. So when we look at that, cults, just so you know, are social groups that are often characterized by their extreme devotion to charismatic leader or ideology. Cults can range from small, isolated communities to larger, well established organizations and are often associated with psychological manipulation and control. Now, I'm going to read some more, but we're going to end up just, for every viewer, think about who may fit in these categories. Because I can tell you, and I'm not going to give you any names of anyone, but I know I can think of a few people that are falling into this category. So, the mentality of a cult leader is one of power and control, where the leader seeks to dominate and manipulate the thoughts and actions of their followers. Cult leaders are often use various tactics to maintain their power, including isolation from the outside world, control of information and communication, and manipulation of beliefs and behaviors. One of the key elements of cults is the use of mind control techniques to influence the beliefs and behaviors of the followers. These techniques can include indoctrination, brainwashing, and other forms of psychological manipulation, which are used to create a sense of dependency and loyalty to the cult and its leader. Cult leaders often use one of the most insidious aspects of the cults is the way in which they can erode critical thinking and independent thought among their followers. Cults often promote a narrow us versus them mentality that emphasizes the superiority of the cult and its leader while demonizing those who do not share their beliefs. This can create a closed minded and insular community where dissent and critical thinking are discouraged and punished. Cult leaders also manipulate their followers by exploiting vulnerabilities such as their need for social connection or personal fulfillment. They may promise spiritual or emotional growth, financial success, or other benefits while also creating a sense of dependency and isolation from the outside world. So, with that being said, that is how people who are on the outside, who may be considered skeptics, look at the whole of ufology as if everything in ufology falls under that extreme non-skeptic category, where everyone here, and I hear skeptics use the term believe. I want to eliminate the word believe because I don't think that that's accurate. Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio says that he believes in confirmation instead of disclosure. And so you have uh, what we call a woo side of ufology, but a lot of the people, most of the people under that category have what you call confirmation because they've seen something. It's not just something that they believe, they've seen something. So they fall under regular non skeptics as us. So, with that being said, the extreme non skeptical religious side of ufology is what the turnoff is, and the reason why others are hesitant to step in because essentially they don't want to join a cult. So I feel like it's our duty within ufology and even the people. So I feel like people that fall in the regular skeptic category and also the non skeptic category, it's your duty to relay the information to those far ending extreme sides of the conversation and bring the ones in that can actually be open minded because it's only gonna be the open-minded people that can have the conversation. And if we break away from uh this religious sort of look that ufology has, then we may be taken more seriously and be able to have that conversation on the big stage. No congressman or anyone that's in control of anything wants to speak to the religious side, the extreme side of ufology. And they don't understand that there's multiple categories within that. They just look at us all as one group. And so I propose that we move away, we separate ourselves from that side of ufology. So if they want to keep the name ufology on the extreme side of the non-skeptical conversation, let them have that. And then us as the regular non-skeptics who are open-minded and walk the middle of the road, maybe we come up with humanology. Maybe it's humanology for us because we care about what happens next and what happens to humanity. And I think the skeptics do as well. And they're open to believing that as well. And it's their duty to look at the extreme, not the extreme skeptics, and kind of get them to open their mind up a little bit so they can join the conversation. Because I'm finding that we have the extreme side talking to the other extreme side, and they will never be able to communicate to it. It will always end in a stalemate where no one is open-minded, so the conversation doesn't progress.
It's a
So
great point.
I've been long-winded on that. Go
No,
ahead,
that
tell me
was
what you
great.
think.
I was just going to say, Rob, this
Bravo,
was
Rob.
fantastic.
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead, Tim. It's remarkable, and I
It
love
was a
the
great
graphic.
presentation. Yeah, I love the bloodshot eye of Sauron.
Yeah, exactly. I was
think-
like, they're gonna look at it like that. Yeah, go ahead.
I love that. I love it. And I love that you have yourself right in the middle there. The dig is solidly in the open-minded section there. I would place myself, I guess, in the regular skeptics section there because I'm that seeker. I'm the boots on the ground guy looking. So I've got to kind of keep myself there. I'm definitely open-minded, but I'm definitely skeptical, so I think I'm planted there pretty well. But I'd love to add to the fact that people read in the headlines about extreme cult groups, right? Like Heaven's Gate, where extremely horrible things come out of the UFO topic every once in a while. And so you're absolutely right. They get stigmatized. People get polarized to that extreme skeptical side. And then again, we have the other people that may have seen something and they're looking for that confirmation. I love that you brought that up because that is that woo side looking for confirmation, and they'll accept just about anybody's story, any bit of evidence. And that is also equally dangerous. I love that you have that linked on the outside there. That was a great visual. And so thank you for that. You did a great presentation there.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Go ahead, Michelle.
I second that completely. And Rob, you missed your calling. You should be a human psychology academic. Seriously, you could write a book with what you just created there. And outstanding, and I mean that. And even and by the way, the graphic made me think of a beach ball, probably because I'm a big Florida beach bum. But it's almost like the outsides are connected. The extreme non-skeptics and the extreme skeptics have similar downfalls, if you will, that are almost the same, but just from the opposite polarization.
Definitely.
And to Tim's point, yes, and to your point, Rob, the community at large that isn't part of our UAP or ufology community, and that's a bad word, but isn't part of the community and the open-minded social dig green area in the middle there, they're afraid to enter into this because of the extreme non-skeptics and their bad habits, and even because of the extreme skeptics. And I have a couple of examples that I wanted to go through, and then kind of something that goes on internally that even causes even more trouble. But for the non-skeptical side, where you have to, as an open-minded person or even as a skeptic, you have to kind of come in and say, there's value in this, lies in the preponderance and the enormous quantity of anecdotal data in the whole UAP UFO world, present day and historical. So, for example, what we talked about earlier, where James Fox was saying the Varginha, Brazil case was either a hoax and half the town was in on it, or it was the truth. So here's a perfect case where there is some physical evidence, but if you ignore the physical evidence in that case for a moment and just go on the anecdotal evidence, come on, it's really hard. And given the time frame, which was what, 96, I believe it was, given the time frame, the half the town wasn't making this story up, right? So as a non-skeptic, or as a skeptic, you have to kind of reach across the green area here and say, you know what, there's value in anecdotal evidence in some cases, which most skeptics won't ever buy. Flipping it around, the example that I see on the opposite side is when you've got decent physical data. So I always love the Commander David Fravor Tic Tac incident.
Right.
Where he was criticizing phenomenon like seagulls or something like that from some of the extreme skeptics that we all know and love. There, you have to look at the fact that some of this was corroborated on radar and a few other things. So here's a case where skepticism, and here's a case where a guy who has nothing to gain from giving the story it has to be weighed as well. So we have these. You have to be able to reach across the beach ball here, so to speak, if you're really going to make this happen. Yeah. And to close my final point out here, as far as what's going on in our own community, we do have extreme non-skeptics and extreme skeptics in our community, which further isolates more people from getting involved. For example, and I know you guys all know this, and I hate to see it, within our own community, we are becoming too critical and too negative toward each other. You know, we talk openly all the time here, and we love to reference other people's work, and we give them props. We love to talk about all of the big influencers and the high profile figures like Avi Loeb and Gary Nolan and Travis Taylor, like we were talking in the last show. Some people are critical of those people, and we all know why. But you can't let that consume you, right? You have to look at what everyone's what they're bringing to the party and their motivations. And yes, some of the things that they're doing you may classify as extreme skepticism or non-skepticism, and you have to keep that in mind. But you can't we can't allow ourselves to start condemning members in the community, because then the outsiders, no one's going to want to join the open-minded world and say, hey, you know, maybe this is true. Maybe this is something that it would be for the greater good of humanity, and we should all work together to find out what's really going on here.
Yeah, and I think you make a really good point, and kind of goes into the whole essence behind this. Just like perfect example is Mick West or someone like that is in the skeptical category. I think what ends up happening is when one of us on the non-skeptical side or the open-minded side brings something to the table, the responses that are the loudest to that come from the extreme skeptics. So it would appear almost that they overshadow or overspeak the regular skeptics, because the regular skeptics are open-minded people. So they're not going to respond immediately. They're going to process the information and see how that applies. So I think that's what ends up happening. So this is why I've done this as well. I've actually put together. This goes in tandem with this. So this is a checklist, and I'm gonna actually put this on my Twitter. So if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, follow me at Mr. Rob G. I'm gonna actually post this form on Twitter, and this is something that
Excellent.
that you should fill out on your own. So four categories. All right, all right. So just wanted to show that Magneticus. I know you saw your name popping up there, so you were part of that conversation. And I think it it pretty much paints the picture of the community as a whole, like all sides of the community. Where I was going with that was, you take those four categories and you look at it and you see where you fall. Are you an extreme skeptic? Are you a regular skeptic? Are you a non-skeptic or an extreme non-skeptic? You know what I mean? And once you figure out, because you may not realize what category you actually fall in, and if you are really making a difference in the conversation. Because if you're on those extreme sides, then you are closed-minded and you don't really help the conversation move forward. So that was the whole gist and purpose of that conversation. So with that being said, yeah, it gets deep here at the social dig, and that's kind of the other thing that I wanted to show is that we get into when we have these formatted shows and we get into these topics, we really, dig into these topics and really do things or have conversations that stimulate your mind. This is what I say in the intro: is a conversation that keeps you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. And that's how you I would like for everyone to walk away from these shows, is to, from the conversation that we have, to think, like, once this show is over and you're sitting by yourself or wherever you're at doing what you do, that it is in your mind and it's making you think about, what we discussed. So you got anything to say on that, Magneticus? I saw
Y-
you
You
commenting
know,
on that, man.
I'm kind of on the skeptic side sometimes to a degree, but it's like I gotta look at, if I just dismiss their story, then I gotta dismiss my own story. So,
Right,
what do you do at that point?
right,
I mean,
right,
so I'm just saying, I know what clicked for me was the way Roderick told how he was, it was about time the night or the lights were about to come on, and there's military aircraft escorting something, or chasing something, or whatever the case may be.
right,
Something was going on out of the norm. It wasn't like your normal aircraft or whatever. And then for the next thing for me, it was like when he asked his whole audience to pray for my wife because she wasn't feeling good, and then the wife came home and asked me if I'd ask people at church to pray for her because all of a sudden she just stopped being sick at work, you know. And I was like, no, but I did ask Roderick and his gang to, send positive entry, and it was just weird how it happened. You know what I mean?
right, right,
I mean, how do you explain it? You know what I mean? How do you explain it?
right,
And especially since she didn't know I was asking people to send positive energy, not money, just energy.
right,
Like Roderick said, just showing up sometimes, listening to the show, just like Dave. Like I tell people, it's like if you're gonna go and sign in from all your different accounts, make sure you're using different machines because YouTube can see that your IP address hasn't changed. You
right,
know,
right.
but
Exactly.
it sees the different devices, so it just looks like a network of computers, and it goes, "Oh, it's a botnet. Disregard these views. These aren't
Yes.
real people. These are robots." And
Yes.
I think didn't we talk not too long ago about? Oh yeah, I didn't. We weren't actually talking. I was typing, but paying $100 to get 10,000 robots, to do your bidding for a week. I mean, that was reality 10 years ago. $100 would get you 10,000 robots. Go clicky
Right.
here, clicky there, and you got 10,000 different IP addresses clicking on things. You know what I mean? And so it's like not only do you have to have a robot that knows how to click the like button, but you got to have a robot that knows how to scroll the screen up and down like you're looking for other videos to watch, pause here, pause there. Trust me, you'll learn to love the random variable with robots because you don't know if it's going to be 5 minutes before they post again. You don't know if it's going to be 10 minutes. It might be 15 minutes, or they might not say anything at all and just write down everything you've been saying in the chat room. You know what I mean? I
Right.
don't know if you figured out the robots yet, but trust me, once you figure out the robots, you'll have dossiers on people for days. It's amazing.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
and
with that being said, man, we have Maggie M10 who stepped in the building. We were just, our ears must have been burning because we were just talking about you a moment ago, Maggie. Just wanted to let you know because it's actually coming close now. Within about 2 weeks, I know you requested Mary Rodwell to come on after hours, so she'll be on. Uh, I gotta check the date. I believe it's February 11th or 12th, but it'd be in about 2 weeks. Mary Rodwell, and we just had on Susie Hansen from New Zealand just the other day. So just so you guys know, I put out a note probably a month ago asking who you guys wanted to see on After Hours. I got a really good list of people and reached out to pretty much all of them, all the ones I could contact. And a great deal, I'd say probably 60 to 70% of the people requested did reply and are set up to come on the show. And the Marjorie K was another person someone requested, and we'll have her on next weekend along with Debbie Ziegelmeyer. So we're going to be having some really crazy, awesome conversations over there at After Hours and interviews as well. And just wanted to let you know that because that is coming down the pipeline. Now, my whole thing with this, my whole thing with this situation, and just the reason why people should realize where they're at in the conversation is, I think, and I know some people actually that fall on that extreme non-skeptic side. And to me, just like I said earlier, it kind of reminds me of Scientology because that extreme side, non-skeptic
blindly
side,
following.
yeah, they just believe anything, right? And it doesn't
Right.
really further the conversation. It doesn't prove anything. It's just, okay, I believe it, and then kind of move on. So, and then the same thing with the extreme non-skeptics. And the thing is that you may not even realize where you fall in that conversation. You could take that graph that I showed and think about anybody in ufology and figure out where they fall in that, and then that lets you know if you should be listening to what it is that they're saying or not. Because there are some skeptics that are open-minded that I appreciate, and they appreciate the same thing from us on the other side. So yeah, and I had Deb Shakti, Susan Alloway, definitely had her too. But yeah, I mean, and that's what this place is for. That's why I do this here at Social Dig, so we can have these kind of conversations, kind of stimulate your mind and get you thinking, right? Because I'm not the only one with opinions and theories and thoughts. Everybody else has a good mind for that too. And if I can get you thinking, then you can rack your brain and come up with some really great ideas or perspectives that kind of add to the total conversation and kind of move this thing forward. So, sometimes it gets deep, and Maggie M10 knows that. That Magneticus definitely knows that. Um, but the thing is that as long as the conversation that we have furthers what it is that we are trying to accomplish, then it's all good. Regardless who it comes from. So that's just kind of where I stand with that. But if you haven't watched any of the previous episodes from the previous season, there's a lot of deep stuff in there. And I would say, if you're new to the channel, kind of dive into those archives because there's some really, deep conversations that take place. And there's going to be more of that coming up in the coming few weeks. So, Scientology next week. On Wednesday, Maggie, just so you know, Scientology show is on Wednesday. I know you've been waiting for that too, and it's going to be a rabbit hole conversation for sure. So I would love for everybody to be here for that. Yeah, so you got anything, any perspectives, anything you want to talk about, Magneticus? I'll hand it over to you.
I was just I the original reason I even clicked on the link was to tell you your microphone wasn't working. None of us could hear you. I was like sending you a text
Man,
message,
dude.
and then I'm like, got on the click on the button. I'm like, your lips are moving, but we can't hear you. You know.
It,
So,
isn't that the story, right? Sitting
and you
here.
know how I am. I'll be like, somebody's too loud, somebody's too quiet. Trying to get all the levels. Because you can't perceive what everybody else is hearing so much. So
Yeah.
so that's why
Tomorrow's man wants
some
to
that
know. Tomorrow's man wants to know who the guy in the middle was in the video.
was Mateo or was it
Yep,
Tim?
it was Mateo. Mateo. So
Okay.
Tim Osman is Mateo, who was my co-host here at the Social Dig. We did a number of shows together before he had to step away, and he is still in
Yeah,
the
he
wings. I just
he
talked
works
to him
on
the other
particle
day.
detectors or whatever it is. Can't
Yes,
remember that
yes.
particle he's looking for, but I think you understand when I was saying, well, I wish I had that kind of equipment sitting around my equipment, so I could see these things I can't see, you know, like the radiation from the radio. I couldn't see that. You could sit there and look right at it. And the joke was, you ever watched Monty Python: The Search for the Holy Grail?
I haven't
You ever
seen
watched
that
that
one. I've
movie?
seen Monty Python, but
Oh, oh, you got to watch that movie then. But
what is it about?
anyways, it's just dumb. It's dumb, but it's funny. I mean, it's like completely funny. Like this one village, so there's like King Arthur and his little merry men or whatever, and they're going around and they click these coconut shells together to make it sound like horses. And they're all like wearing their battle gear and stuff. And then there was like this black knight that wanted to fight, and so the one guy like cuts off his one arm, and then he cuts off the other arm of the Black Knight, and then he cuts off one leg, and then he cuts off the other leg, and the Black Knight's still wanting to fight even though he's got no arms and legs. So he cuts off his head, and he's still wanting to fight with him. And it's just like, when does a person give up? Just kind of weird, dumb
Right.
stuff like that. And then one time, and then another scene, it's a village of they the people declared this one woman a witch. So determine if she was a witch, they were gonna drown her in water or whatever, because witches float like ducks apparently. And then so they compared the woman to the weight of a duck or something like that to determine if she was a witch or not. Or so, it was just dumb. But anyways, back to when I was making the loud broadcast in the neighborhood. I had a pair of old rabbit ears, for your television,
Yeah.
and I'd have the high voltage of the last capacitor go into those two rabbit ears, and I would always when I had visitors over, I'd tell them watch out for the deadly rabbit guarding the entrance, and the and if you watch the movie, you'd understand the deadly rabbit. So, but in my case, it was because it could electrocute you, and
Right.
but yeah, so that was one of the things, the rite of passage. You have to come over and you'd have to touch the rabbit ears. And I'd always tell you just to use the tips of your fingers and not to get nervous about it, because when you get clammy palms, you get moisture on your
Mm-hmm.
fingers. Any kind of moisture on your fingers is going to make you a better conductor. So if you don't sweat it and you just go up and touch it real quick, yeah, it's going to give you a little bit of shock, but you're not going to die from it.
Right.
This one kid, I told him not to do it, and his companion wouldn't touch the rabbit ears because he was afraid. So the one that had done it before decided to touch it with the palms of his hands. You know what happens when you electrify the palms of your hands?
What is it? What happens?
Your fingers are going to curl to the palms of your hands. Now, once your palms and once your fingers curl around, how do you break the contact with the conductors?
Let us know.
The
Fill us
electricity.
in.
Well, no, you can't. The electricity. When you think about how your fingers work, right? Which is easier to do? Close your hand or open your hand?
Open, I
Which
would
is
think.
stronger? When it
Um,
comes to strength,
close
which
probably.
take
Yeah.
yeah, what takes more energy to close your jaw or open it? Your jaw will fall open if you don't hold it
Open.
closed.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
closing your jaw is the strong system. Opening your jaw is the weak system. And when you're being electrified, the strong system is going to dominate the weak system
Okay.
because both systems are being fired at the same time. Which these days, like a lot of athletes and stuff, use electrical pulse stimulation or whatever you want to call it. I can't remember what it's called, but you can actually just like trigger muscle groups with different amounts of voltage, to for strength training and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know about that or not, but yeah.
Nah, man, I'm soaking it up, man. I'm soaking it up. Yeah, that's why I love to have you on, man, because you always give us some stuff that some new
Makes you
information, which is
think.
cool. Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm all about, man. If it can make me think, I'm all with it, and I'm willing to go down the rabbit hole with you on that. Sovereign Cosmic Wildman ask Rob G, are you going to cover all the madness that has happened with the recent Scientology protests, except the arrest of Aaron? I know what you're talking about. I'm aware of that situation. The way we're going to do this is we're going to kind of just lay the basic groundwork on just the story of Scientology for like episode 1 and 2. What I want to do, the plan is I want to do also a third part, fourth part. I really as many parts as because truthfully, this is the issue, and you'll see. Well, I'm sure you know, Sav, but when people really get to see how this thing is put together, and I said there's so many intricacies that are going on within Scientology that you could probably make a whole series, which a lot of people are doing right now, on just everything that's going on. So we may end up hitting that. I would love to, and I'm trying to currently for like part 3, 4, one of these to get former Scientologists on to talk about it. So once we've laid the groundwork on what Scientology is and sort of where it's come from, how it started, where it got to, some of the controversies that are going on within the newer era of Scientology, that we can get someone who has escaped Scientology to come in and talk about those little intricacies, because there you would be studying this for every day of your life, trying to find everything out about what's going on. It's just so many things, and that's why it's an important topic to talk about. But yeah, we're gonna do a series. I'm gonna try to work it out to be a series, so we have at least 1 and 2, and then 3 going forward. I want to try to get actual people who have escaped Scientology to talk about their experience and kind of fill in the blanks and things of that nature. So,
Well,
yeah,
you're making me think of a funny story now.
yep,
You're
run
making
with
me.
it.
Okay. So, anyways, remember the Jay-Z night I was telling you about earlier,
Yeah,
and so and before this person ever mentioned that name to me, well, I mean, I'd seen the compound when we were like, I don't remember when I first seen the compound, but the first time I seen the compound, like I said, I looked at the barbed wire on the fence and I said, they don't want you going in or out. And all I thought to myself was, what kind of religious cult is this? You know what I mean? So and I got into this discussion with this one lady, and I told her how I'd never stepped foot on that compound, not willingly, you know what I mean? Because I know about the underground tunnels that go all over the place. And so, she just told me, oh no, you just go there for a couple weeks and you'll be spiritually enlightened. And I'm like sitting there thinking all these stories that I heard prior to this conversation with this woman that was telling me, I just need to go there for a couple weeks. I was like, so how long did you spend on that compound? Oh, I never spent any time on that compound. And I'm like, so you're telling me to go on to somebody's cult compound and I'm going to be okay. And, I'm like sitting there thinking, I hear all these weird stories coming from this place. And I'm like really not wanting to go there. If they want to come out of their little cult compound and talk to me, that's one thing, but I'm not going on their cult compound, and trespass against them. You know, does that make any
Exactly.
sense? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? I mean, it's like, only thing I ever knew about Scientology was there was like a ton of commercials back in the day for Ron L. Hubbard's
Yeah.
Scientology book. You know what I mean? That's when you say that
Dianetics.
word Dianetics, and that's all that comes to mind. I mean, I know nothing about it. I never read the books, so I'm like, and
Yeah.
it's like I go to church and I tell people all the time, I'm like, I've never read the whole Bible, but I have 10 of them sitting on the shelf. You
Right.
know, why do I have 10 of them sitting on the shelf? And I can sit there and go, well, if you open that one, this verse is missing. And if you look at that one, you're going to find this word on the line. And if you look at that one, you're going to find this written. And if you look at that, you're going to find, and they're all different. You know what I mean? So, and that's when I
Yeah.
started accepting the fact that, sometimes when you look at the different words used, they mean the same thing. They mean exactly the same thing. You know what I
And,
mean?
and I
So,
want to point. Let me point this out real quick. I like this comment, Sarah Yan. Church of Horror. I like that. I really do. That's exactly it sums it up right there. Church of Horror, and we will be finding out about that coming up. So awesome comment, Sirion. And Lex Diaz is asking.
Church of
Oh, wait a
Horrors.
minute, wait a minute, wait. Before I go to Lex Diaz, Amy WC is asking. Mothman, still waiting to see Shelly Miscavige. Guess what, Amy WC? They just showed where Sarah or Shelly Miscavige is probably a few days ago. I'm sure Sav knows about this. She's at a facility down here in Southern California, and there's a whole thing going there. So the whole where's Shelly thing has been resolved at this point, Amy WC. So just so you know, this just happened the other day, literally a few days ago. They had a broadcast, Aaron did, talking about where Shelly is at this point, and based on, I guess, Shelly went and got a new license, driver's license, and because she did that, it triggered a new voter registration entry on file, and so the voter registration entry showed her at this address, which turns out to be like one of the vaults where they hold a lot of the L. Ron Hubbard writings and things of that nature here in Southern California. And apparently the address that she used is an address that is goes to a caretaker home, which is a caretaker home for that specific vault for that location. And it's like 300-acre area right here in Southern California. So that's been a big thing. So Amy WC, I know you were on it because the whole Where's Shelly thing was a big thing for the last 6-7 years, something like that. But just so you know, they've resolved that, Amy WC. And then Lex Diaz asks, who you all know personally that you would say may just an alien walking among us? That's a good question. Maybe we can answer that. Who is most likely an alien walking among us? Great question. Yeah, I think probably Elon Musk, or he's just really weird. One of the two. Alien or really weird. Take your choice. He could be a
Really
human, really
weird.
weird, or an
Really
alien.
weird.
Yeah. Really weird?
Really
Okay. And then
weird.
you got Mark Zuckerberg. Alien
Yeah,
or
I don't
really
like him
weird?
either. I could throw him in a toilet and flush him.
There's a handful of people that just their mannerisms and they they more so in those two. They and the reason why I bring them up, everybody brings them up as possibly being aliens.
Facebook and
Not
X. Yeah, I know.
not being. I mean, and I don't know how serious people are when they make that. You know, they are really weird, both of them. But they do seem like people or beings trying to imitate humans. And obviously not saying it and not trying to make anyone believe that those guys are aliens. But if I had to point to a human that acted very strange enough to me for me to question if they're human or not, it would be those two. Can't think of anybody else right now. I'm sure I could if I sat down on it.
I'm looking
Who
this.
would you say, Magneticus?
I would say my favorite SpongeBob SpongePants remark about Plankton and his robotic wife Karen, and how
Mm-hmm.
the fish. You know why the fish don't eat at Plankton's chum bucket, right?
Talk to us. Let us know.
It's the alkaline battery, and the fish don't like the alkaline environment. It's too acidic. So they go across the street to the Krusty Krab, where Mr. Krabs keeps that secret ingredient in a bottle. Get it?
Okay, I'm missing it.
Keeps
Nope.
keeps the alkaline in a bottle. Keeps the alkaline in a bottle. Doesn't let the alkaline get into the water.
Okay.
How do you make the batteries? How do you make lithium batteries? Lithium is like
I
super
haven't a
alkaline.
clue.
Yeah,
You're
well
the
that's
resident
that's
scientist here.
that's that's why I asked if people realize that for what you can charge 24 Cyber Beast, just what you're pulling from the grid, you could power 150 homes, average American homes, for 24 hours.
Okay.
I'm just saying, think about it.
Once again, for anybody who is new to Magneticus, you got to kind of read between the lines. And I'm obviously it's still a work in progress for me. Is
You get the
yeah,
battery jokes in a minute.
that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Flip,
It's
flip
always
over,
like that.
flip over, replace Duracells. Do I have to spell it out for you?
Yes, go ahead. Spell it out. Spell it out for people who
Flip,
just can't get it.
flip, flip over, replace Duracells.
Okay. Wait a minute.
FORD.
Okay.
Flip over, replace Duracells. If lightning strikes.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So, anyways, and then you got Elon Musk with his fully self-driving car, right, or whatever they want to call it. But if you take that FSD and you say, what about fail-safe devices? None of the Tesla investors wants to talk about what happens if a battery blows like Apollo 13. I mean, do you really want to trust a battery operated car if the battery goes boom
Nope.
underneath your feet? And what's going to drive the car? And they so apparently they got to have two different batteries. So one battery drives the car, one battery I don't know where these different batteries are. It just seems like you know Edison back in the day, but it's got a Tesla name on it. So it's like
Okay.
Edison was big on batteries. I mean, that's like renewable tax energy right there. Every time I sell you
Okay.
a battery, that's more taxes. Batteries aren't like food and are tax exempt. Batteries are, tax revenue. So,
Okay.
sorry, I'm like
Yeah.
reading these comments as they're like scrolling by.
You're blowing minds, man. You're blowing minds. You're blowing minds. Lex Diaz says, let's see.
Kirkpatrick isn't an alien, but he knows who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sir
that's,
Patrick is
I've seen that one too.
so
And then the
here's
next
the
one.
thing. Here's the thing. I don't if you go with the narrative that Mick West is kinda subject to Lex. But if you go with the theory, and I've never really been strong on this theory, but it's one that everybody talks about that beings that walk among us that look exactly like us. When you, if that is true, then when you think about it, then it starts making you think, okay, if that's a real thing and there are beings that look indistinguishable from human beings and they walk among us, it would explain a lot. It would explain
Like
a lot.
Critters. Critters was a good movie that they used that.
Yeah,
You ever watch
yeah,
Critters?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
the bounty hunters were like they could look whoever they wanted to. They could look like the local sheriff. They could look like the local school teacher. They could look like the local preacher. They just had to pick a face, and that's who they look like.
yep.
And then you
Nightlight
think about
walkers.
like octopus and their ability to change their colors and stuff and blend into the surroundings. You
M-
know,
my comparison was more like the so if this is a thing, if this is a thing that's actually going on, my idea of it would be like the Matrix, right? You know how you have the agents that are able to just transform, so it's a regular person and they transform into the agent, and then they take over their body and have them do whatever task they're going to do. That's kind
I
of
had
what
a
I
hard
feel
time
like.
following that movie.
But it
I'm not
kind of
gonna
makes me
lie.
feel like if there isn't actual beings that look like humans, then maybe the way they get in is they get in the consciousness of the person, right? So they reach into that person's consciousness and become that person momentarily. You know what I mean? And that way they're able to
Right?
assimilate themselves within humanity. I think that's probably more logical
I,
than
I
there
think in
being aliens that look just like
I think in
humans.
the I think in the movie when the agent like went from a person to an agent or whatever, I think that would be like I guess in like modern times I'd look at it as like just a human standing there, and some minds are like easier to like access the data inside of them. I mean, could you only imagine what I could project on the wall if I could just stick a jack in the back of my head and show you what I
Right,
was thinking? You know
right,
what I mean?
right,
And so I think about like, I don't know if I should talk about that on here, but it involves DARPA and
oh shoot.
remotely reading electrical energy. And I guess a lot of people already know about them reading your hard drives and stuff remotely. They don't actually have to connect to your network. They can like actually just like I was talking about. You send the energy out, it bounces back. And I tried to tell my wife a long time ago when I pointed out the black van following us around with the spinning antenna on top with steamed up windows that obviously somebody had been sitting in there breathing for a while. You know what I mean? And so I told her, I said, what they can see inside is much different than what you see with your eyes because it's all reflected energy. Like iron won't um, will reflect a lot of energy, and like drywall doesn't. It's kind of like looking at an X-ray. You know what I'm talking about. You can still see the skin and stuff around the bones, but you can't see
Right,
it as well as the bones. It's
right,
basically looks like that. And of course, when I show people my Wi-Fi broadcasts in the area, there was nothing better than somebody likes to put FBI surveillance van. You got a van that sits out on the street for like weeks, months. Can't remember how long it's out there. I'm like, I'm
right,
not doing anything too much, anyways. Not trying to. And if I am, I'll cease and desist immediately if it gets brought to my attention, like broadcasting around the whole neighborhood. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to broadcast like that. It was just a side effect of what I was working on at the time, which was
right,
Tesla coils, which use wireless, energy transfer. So transfer one antenna to the other. So, and I always said I was alien because I was always alienated in my youth because I'd make my smart remarks to the teacher and she'd be like outside in the hallway, be like, "See ya."
I think we're gonna find out, and it's deep, dude. I think we're gonna find out that we are related though to some of these ET. I think we're gonna find that out. I think we're gonna find out that and a lot of people already say this, but I think we're gonna find out like for sure that there's some sort of relation. Now, when I look at Sovereign Cosmic Wildman put up this comment here, it says it, and I'll tell you what I think about this, but it says when you come across a perceived to be homeless person and they only speak in growls, that's an alien interdimensional walking amongst us. And I can tell that that's a serious comment that Sovereign is giving us here. And here's what I'll say about that. I've always thought so since this whole like the reality of what's really going on has really hit, it made me think. I thought, and I still kind of ponder this, right? But it made me think about that person that you perceive as being crazy, that person you see walking down the street, no shirt on, no shoes, and talking to themselves, in
Oh, that's one I
society
noticed.
society makes you feel like, or to put that person in a box as being quote unquote crazy. But what if it, just think about it, not saying that this is what it is, but just think of if that person just was on a different frequency, it was really connected to something, it was really having a dialogue, you know what I mean? But
Watch
to
Strange
you and
Brew
me,
sometime.
say again,
You ever watch that Strange Brew? Rick Moranis, I think, or whatever.
is that a
Canadian
movie?
flick. Yeah,
What's it
yeah,
called? Let me
yeah.
write it down.
Strange Brew.
I'll have to watch that.
BREW. Strange
Okay,
Brew.
what's the premise? What's the
So these two hosers like drinking beer all the time, and somehow they went to the psych ward instead of the beer factory or something,
mm-hmm.
and realized that the psych ward was testing out chemicals in the beer, and when you gave people all these drugs, you could play different frequencies, and they'd all go out on the hockey ring and start battling it out, depending on what you played on the keyboard. Yeah,
Wait, say
yeah,
that
yeah.
again. I was reading the comments. Say that one more time.
It They put something in the beer
Mm-hmm.
that would cause people to act like violently if they played
Okay.
like a certain tune. You know, like do do
Okay.
do do do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you played that tune, that means all the players get out on the ring, and then you go da da da, and they all start just savagely attacking each other. Red versus blue on the court. You know what I mean? So yeah, 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 yeah. So that's why I was thinking with the DARPA stuff, and because I noticed this years ago that sometimes when I was out and about, it seemed like everybody was in a bad mood, and then some days it was like everybody was in a good mood, and then they go back to everybody was in a bad mood, and I started thinking, are they transcending something with these cell towers? Because my deceased friend Israel, she was like really big into like the Gwen towers. I can't remember what Gwen stands for. GWEN, and it was a Barry Trower, TROWER, and he was like into experimenting with radio frequencies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm kind of like, kind of like beating around the bush. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Hold on. We have somebody that just called, and I'm
All right
calling them
on.
back. Whoever just called, I'm calling you right back right now. If I can see your number in here. Caller, whoever just called, call right back. I don't see your number in here. I know I saw the call.
Tim Mothman, you
Oh,
don't
let
have to
me
believe
turn off.
about DARPA.
Let me just turn it off. Caller, it was a 913 area code who just called.
All right. where that's at.
Is that Time Traveler? Okay. Let me see. Hope no troll. Yeah, hope not either. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll look at it as that, Derek Galloway, potentially a troll, and we definitely don't want trolls on the line. So, with that being
Right?
said, here's
Or
what we'll
somebody doing a
do.
screaming match. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, we don't need any of that.
yeah.
Yeah, Time
One
Traveler,
time
if that
was.
was you, go ahead and give a call back in. We can further the conversation. Otherwise, we're at about the 2 hour mark and we'll wrap things up right here. So we'll go ahead and give it a few minutes. Time Traveler, if you want to call back and give some input. And as we do have a show tomorrow at After Hours. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go.
Call from.
Hi, time traveler.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
All right. Hello, Time Traveler.
Yeah.
All right. How you doing?
Well,
We can hear you loud and clear. And what do you have for us today? How you doing today?
I'm calling in. I just kind of gauge the, the separation between time, because I'm a time traveler, the lag, if you will. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Feeling good. Hope you're doing good as well.
All right. Well, what have you guys been predominantly talking about tonight? Because chat seems to want like some new topic, I guess.
Yeah, bring it. Bring whatever's on your mind. It's you can drive this conversation.
All right. Well, how about we ask chat? How about we do that together? What do you think about that?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Chat, you
All
guys.
right, chat. What
Yeah,
do you want?
yeah. What do you
What do you
What do you
want from
want?
time? What do you want from Time Traveler?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I know everything, so they can ask me anything.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. So, guys, you
Yeah.
hear it. You hear it. Okay. All right. There you go. First question. Time traveler,
All
what
right.
year are you from and what's it like?
Oh, I'm from the year 1986, and it used to be really cool. I grew up. My dad and his friends were both military and officers, and their wives were friends, and they would go play bridge parties and do all that, and we'd watch Forrest Gump eat pizza and get drunk at a young age
Wow. Okay.
with our old parents. Yeah,
Okay.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Tamal Man says, talk about interdimensional travel.
Oh, well, it's okay. If you want to bring up interdimensional travel, who brought that up?
Tamoth Man.
Timothy.
What happened? Hey, Rob.
All of existence happens, and it will happen, and it will end. Now, if you're like me, you already know that if there was no what people call God or religion or whatever, you'd already have been lived and dead infinite time ago. But we're here right now. So there is an actual God or religion, I guess. I would call it a God.
Okay, and I'm just checking because some people saying they can't hear. So
We can
let me
hear
see
Rob.
here.
We can hear Rob now.
Okay. All right.
But for a second there, it was quiet.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they probably didn't hear part of that time traveler. Looks like I muted you on accident.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind repeating
that. I got to repeat it.
Yeah, well, if you want them to hear what you said, because they don't think they only caught part of it.
Okay. Time is started with the Big Bang. We had time, space, matter. That all started from point A, the Big Bang, and it will all end at point B, where it either collapses in on itself and reverberates, or it will fizzle out and die and never be again. So, the answer to your question is time is actually irrelevant. It's just a tiny parsec of existence. There's actually parts of it like time. Let's take time in particular, and let's apply it to matter. So you have a loved one, right? That loved one dies. They still love you, and you still love them, right?
Okay. Yep. Definitely.
All right. But the way to prove this is if time wasn't just a tiny part of the equation, we would have all lived and died infinite years ago from the Big Bang happening and then ending. But we're here right now, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now, when you die, are you still going to love your loved ones?
If there's any sense of emotion, or if you have any of that once your spirit leaves your body, I would say yes, but I don't think we know the answer to that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, that's a tricky part. None of us know the answer to that. Mm-hmm. Not even me. And I'm a fucking time traveler. But, just call it in.
Lex Diaz wants to know. Lex Diaz wants to know, how do we accelerate disclosure if we can?
Fucking aliens. Why would they waste their time here? I'll accelerate disclosure right here and now. They drive by Earth if they can interdimensionally travel or go way faster than the speed of light. They drive by Earth and they lock their windows like a white guy going through the hood.
Okay.
That's what they do.
Got it. Okay. Wu Jay Riders asks, what race of aliens control Earth?
Horror politicians.
Okay.
Like that's literally all it is. It's just lobbyists that are like politicians will run and say, except, and I know a lot of you won't like what I'm about to say right now, but bear with me. Donald Trump is actually not a racist. He's actually not a bad guy. But the rest of them, they're just horse to lobbyists. They get bribed. they get your vote. They'll say whatever they want to get your vote, and then they ignore you and they take lobbyist bribes. That's all it is.
Okay. All right. We got Tamaltman asking, what is on the other side of a black hole?
Well, that's how you get black people.
What do you mean by that?
Well, where'd you come from?
I came from a higher place. I came from my mother's womb. I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, but your mother's womb was a black hole, wasn't it?
Oh no.
It's dark in there.
I'm sorry. I
got it. I seen the light. I seen the light, and that's how I emerged. I seen the light.
Yeah,
I was heading for the light.
Man, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to.
That's a little dark humor. That was a little dark humor. It wasn't intended as like the color of your skin or anything like that. It's the fact there's no light up inside your mom's. That's how I seen it.
That's not where black people come from. That's where all people come from. So that's where you.
I know. That's what I was like. Exactly. That's where I kind of was like going, where's he going with this? And then all of a sudden I got the joke and I was like, oh, that's so funny.
See, time traveler, you should have. If you're a time traveler, you should have been able to go. You should have been able to go forward in time, and you would have knew that wasn't funny. You should have been able to go forward in time.
First of all, I want to apologize for Timothy.
No, you got to apologize to me first, bro.
No, I'm apologizing to you less because you're the most important. Okay. And I'm a time traveler, and I can organize things like that, right?
All right.
Timothy, I'm sorry for the terrible joke I said. Yes, Lex Diaz, it is awkward. I just had my wisdom tooth pulled, and I'm disobeying the doctor's orders, and I have a cigar and a bunch of beer.
That's okay.
All right, now for you.
Okay, let's get to me.
Wait, okay. I shouldn't have said what I said. I was just trying to crack a joke, and you gotta.
All right. So
forgive me on that. Will you forgive me?
Here's what we'll do. I forgive everyone. It's tasteless. It was definitely tasteless, and I just have to give you one of these, man. Appreciate your time, man. You take care. Damn, right? Wow.
Once I got it, it was like my joke about the Big Bang Theory. It was when my mom and father ran into each other.
You give somebody the floor. You give somebody the floor, and then this is what they do with it. This is the reason why. This is the reason why we don't do live over there on Spaced Out Radio. I'm not offended by it. I think it was very tasteless for the guy to do. Maybe he'll sober up and he'll realize what it was that he said or what he did. But I
think he said, if he said where we all come from, yeah, it'd make it would kind of put a different context on the joke. But it was just like, I guess he kind of focused, where did you come from? You know, where like, okay, and so yeah, it was kind of, who knows?
It was bad. But
maybe when he's not under the influence of pain and medication and alcohol, maybe, you know, he'll sing a different tune or whatever. But you know,
look, I send that person healing. And hopefully you can get your mind right. Hopefully you can pull it together, man. Because I have faith in every human being out there. I should have knew it was going bad when he said Trump isn't a bad guy. When he said that, then I should have knew that we probably should have been cutting off that call right then and there.
All I can say is politicians should have to wear like little banners on them, like, you know, the NASCAR drivers. You know, I fully agree with that one. You know, just so you could like tell whose pockets they're into. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
kind Kind of like
The
when I sent the two stars to Roderick that spell out black. One spells it clockwise, one spells it counterclockwise. And I told
yeah.
him, I said, if you turn them over and look behind, you'll notice that one, all the right hands are in the left pockets, and on the other one, it's all the opposite way around. You know what I mean? Your left hands are in the right pockets, and your hands are in the left pockets.
Yeah, yeah, and man, time traveler, man.
We don't do
I don't.
politics either here,
We don't do
so
if you read the banner at the bottom, it tells you that we don't do politics or any of that stuff. I'm not going to ban you. I'm not going to ban you because I'm going to hope that your inebriation is what brought out that the ignorance, and so I'm just gonna hope that you do better next time, and we will. You're definitely welcome to continue to communicate in the chat. But bro, no more of that racist stuff. We're not doing racism here. We're not doing politics here. We're not doing religion. If you can't just join the conversation and speak like a human being, like everyone else here is a human being, then I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to do. Yeah, I mean, time traveler, just do better. That's what I'll say. Just do better. Okay, so with that being said, what we'll end up doing here is, yeah, where do you go from that, right? You made it all weird, huh? Didn't you make it all weird?
it, it did for a second there until I realized what he was saying, and then it was kind of funny because like I said, I have the Big Bang theory of my mom running into my father, and that was the Big Bang that caused everything to exist for me. You know what I mean? At least from my perception, perception. I've been traveling time since 1973, amigo. No habla español, not my problem.
I'm gonna do this for Derek Galloway here. I don't know if I can get it up here on the because I have it here. Let me check here. Um, I don't want to get copyright struck, Derek. So let me see what I can do with this.
Oh yeah, because he sent that video or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and okay, it should be. It might be okay. Let me go ahead and try. I have to forward this link to myself. Um, so give me a minute, Derek. Give me a minute. Oh man.
I got a good joke when you're done.
Go ahead, tell it right now while I'm trying to figure
Okay,
this out.
so you remember the video I tagged you in? I said Sam Clam left his, or no, left my heart at Sam Clam's disco. Did you watch that video? No?
I don't think so. Yeah, fill us in.
Oh. Okay, so anyways, the story of Sam Clam's disco was Stella Starfish and Sam Clam had this thing for each other. So as you can see, there's a interspecies relationship going on here. And so, anyways, Sam Clam he made bad choices in life, and he got sent to the fiery hot place. And Stella Starfish, she was known for her heavenly music, so guess where she got to go? And so when she got to heaven and realized Sam Clam was in hell, she asked for one last day to spend with Sam Clam. And so she went to Sam Clam's disco in hell, and it was 2 minutes to midnight, and she realized her time was about to be up, and she left in such a hurry. She left her harp in Sam Clam's disco. Said I left my heart at San Francisco.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious. Boom. I don't
See
have a
that
rim. I don't have a rim shot for you. So
that's a more colorful joke. You know what I mean?
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
come
think that's
on.
gonna. It's kind of like the joke of the what was it? It was the Jewish rabbi, um, the Catholic preacher, and the Baptist were standing in a circle debating on what to do with all the money people were giving them. And the one said, "Well, let's go and buy beautiful women in fast cars, and the other one was like, well, let's feed all the people. And the rabbi, he said, let's just throw the money up in the air, and what God wants, He keeps.
Okay. I missed that one because I'm trying to set this
The
up.
the money is going to come back down to the ground. God isn't
Okay.
going to miraculously just reach down and grab the money, and it's just going to disappear. So,
Okay. I'm about to play this video here from Derek
okay.
Galloway, and let's
Oh,
take a look
what?
at it.
Area 51 line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharged.
I started getting...
Well, this was certainly interesting. We are now on a backup system, everybody. A backup system. And that one caller that I had on the air, I guess we were about in the middle of his transmission, his telephone call, which was one of the strangest ones I've ever had. And the entire transmitting system by satellite went down here, and we were notified we were off the air. And it would appear to be from this end and some sort of massive transmit failure. So we are now using a backup system to be on the air. And not that I would normally believe this kind of thing, mind you, but I can't help but wonder if somebody zapped us in some way. We'll find out.
All right.
Havana syndrome.
So
that's all I'm gonna say.
Go ahead and close that. All right, go ahead. Your comment on that, Magneticus?
Havana syndrome.
Okay.
Woodpecker knock. That's all I got to say about it. Woodpecker knock and Havana syndrome. Those are my. If you don't know what those two are, go ahead and look, and you find what you need to find. New York blackout caused by a woodpecker knock.
Here's what
Are there any connection?
I can see that. I mean, okay, so let's look at it like there's a couple ways you could look at that, right? So yes, if you are taking the caller at face value and you're serious and you're taking this caller seriously, then yeah, you can get into Havana syndrome and those sort of thought processes. Did the guy come across as genuine to you? Did it sound like a genuine conversation? I don't
Um,
know.
all I can say, Georgia Guidestones.
Say again.
Georgia Guidestones.
Georgia Guide Stones.
Yeah, it got blew up not too long ago.
Okay,
And,
what
then,
in the world is
and
that?
that's what it is, the Georgia Guidestones. I don't recite, can't recite everything that was written on those 4 blocks of stone, but
Okay,
part of
these
the
are actual
plan,
stones. Okay, okay.
but part of the plan was to depopulate, which takes a lot of problems out of the equation. Just depopulate, and then you go back to more selective breeding, kind of like the corn and soybeans and everything else is done. You got, like when I was working in corn, it was 8 rows of plant A, and then it was 16 rows of plant B, and you get all the local children to go and detassel the corn in the 16 rows, leaving only pollinators on 8 rows. And then you go across the 8 rows with a lawnmower when it's time to pollinate, and it pollinates 24 rows.
Oh, got it, got it. Okay, I'm gonna bring this up.
Because so once you've depollinated plant B, or you took away the pollinators of plant B, it can't self pollinate. So the only thing it can pollinate with is plant A. So if you run 3 harvesters down because they can only pick like 8 rows at a time, you'll have one harvester that's picking all the self pollinated, which is pollinated by plant A, and you get the offspring of plant A, which is inbreeding, and then you get the crossbreed, which is plant A with plant B, which creates plant C, which is the hybrid. And I can't go into all the chemicals and stuff that are sprayed at different times of the plant's life to cause different, effects. So that's like if you look at my community page, there's like a post about different types of hybrid corn. You know what I mean? And I'm fully aware that I can grow this plant next to this plant, depollinate one of them, and I'll get a cross between the two. And depending on
Yeah,
which plants I crossbreed, I'll create different types of genetic manipulation or mutations and stuff like that. Because like usually a plant will grow like a sprout or like 2 leaves on each side of the plant, and then it'll be 90 degrees, and then 2 other plants or 2 leaves. You know what I mean? And then
right.
eventually branches out more from there. And years ago, I don't know if it was the magnetic pulse around the plant or it was the fact that the plant was being moved around to the light, but it started doing one leaf here, 120 degrees, it'd do another leaf there, another 120 degrees, it put up another leaf, and it was like putting these single leaves going in a spiral. And
Okay.
that's the two
And
things. Is it, huh?
no, and I'm just showing the people who may not know what these are. Georgia Guidestones. I have them up on the screen here,
Yep, that's them.
and just the wiki,
Was
which
them.
we know the wiki isn't always accurate, but says just to read this real quick. Georgia Guidestones was a granite monument that stood in Elbert County, Georgia, United States from 1980 to 2022. It was 19 feet 3 inches tall and made from 6 granite slabs, weighing a total of 237,746 pounds. The structure was sometimes referred to as an American Stonehenge. The monument's creators believed that there was going to be an upcoming social, nuclear, or economic calamity, and they wanted the monument to serve as a guide for humanity in the world which would exist after it.
Afterwards.
Controversial
Hmm.
from its time of construction, it ultimately became the subject of conspiracy theories, which alleged that it was connected to Satanism. On the morning of July 6, 2022, the guidestones were heavily damaged in a bombing from a vandal, and the debris and guidestones were removed by the local government later that day. In late July, Elberton Mayor Daniel Graves announced plans to rebuild the monument. However, on August 8th, the Elbert County Board of Commissioners voted to donate the remains of the monument to the Elberton Granite Association and return the 5 acres of land which the monument was erected to its previous owner. Okay, so that's the backstory.
Yep. That's pretty much the. I mean, there's a lot more to the guidestones than what you read, but
It's
there's
it.
I it's like a sundial and everything else, and there's like a hole. There was a hole in it somewhere for something. I can't remember what the hole looked at.
Yeah.
I know at Coral Castle, Edward's his obelisk was aimed at the Polaris star, so he could watch it move around in the night sky and tell what time it was.
Yeah. Mothman says, let's talk about the nuclear cataclysm that happened on Mars. And I've looked into that somewhat. I can't remember the material that they stated was found in the atmosphere and in the soil. I believe it begins with the D. I'd have to look it up. Please, somebody fill me in on the name of that element that was found, which led them to believe that
Deuterium?
that might be exactly what it is. They say that it could only come from a nuclear explosion. And so, with that being said, yeah, here's what I believe about Mars. I feel with 99% certainty that when human beings make it to the surface of Mars and they begin digging beneath the soil, I believe they are going to find fossils. I believe they're going to find fossils that resemble human fossils, and probably other animals that we have here from the planet. And that's just a guess. I mean, the only reason why I even say that is because it's so close to Earth, and it's at one point had water. It really was like a little Earth. And so logic says that if life grew up here on the planet, which they say it did, it originated here, then there's a great chance that life was there as well. And I think this is we don't know the answer, but I feel that when they talk about the ark story in the Bible, that they were talking about a ship, a spaceship that brought
It had a radioactive core.
life from there to here. Just a theory. Maybe we'll find out it's not true one day. Maybe we'll find out it is true. But I definitely think that there were living beings there, potentially our ancestors, and something happened where we had to leave. Could that have been an attack by extraterrestrials, some sort of nuclear attack? Potentially. Could it be something that could it be? Oh, okay. Camera is out now. Could it be something that we did? Potentially, possibly. Could it be that Mars was in the same situation that we're in right now, with nuclear weapons and on the brink of a world war where we could destroy this planet, and maybe we did the same thing there, and they don't want us to do it here? Possibly. All those things are possible. You can go ahead and talk about. Give your opinion on the magneticus. Try to fix this camera real quick.
Okay, well, that's gonna suck because I'm gonna read comments, but I can't remember now. It's like Mercury, I think, that spins backwards. Which planet spins backwards compared to the rest of them? Like 8 out of the 9 are like spinning clockwise, and one's spinning counterclockwise. Come on, chat, help me remember. It's like Mercury, and then you got the asteroid belt. So I always wondered if like some foreign object came out into our solar system just under one of the planets and like flipped the pole on the planet as it went by, and then hit another one and turned it into little cosmic crunchies.
Yep. Keep them going, magneticus. Will be just another
Okay.
minute here.
I'm just reading. I'm trying to read the chat and converse with the chat. And there's rings around that planet. That's why I always joke about wanting to be the first person to put my footprints on the rings of that planet with that name in it. Yep. I got in trouble for that joke in school too. Hydrogen sulfide. That's like fart gas, swamp gas. Hydrogen sulfide. Phosphine. Sulfate phosphine. I didn't say it. Uranus. That's how they like to say it now. Because all the kids would laugh if you said it the other way. Couldn't talk about Uranus. You're in this. Yeah, you're in this, all right. We're all in this together. That's what's always had my curiosity too, is like what causes the rings of Saturn and the pentagram or the hexagram on the I think it's the North Pole. It's one of the poles. And then you got the big storm that moves around all the time. And I still think NASA was crazy for sending the go menu to the edge of the solar system. Maybe I watched too many Star Trek movies and see V'ger coming back and wanting to know more about the creator that died millennia before.
Okay, I'm hearing you. So go ahead and say that again, Magneticus. I missed the last first part of what you just said.
I don't know. I was just randomly talking. Somebody talked about a plant with a U word, and I said I'm not going to say that one because, yeah, people like to laugh, especially if I remark about putting my boots on the rings of that planet, because that
Right.
planet has rings like Saturn, which you thought I was joking at first. Sometimes you don't know when I'm joking. My wife had the same problem. She's like, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "You could be talking about something completely serious and you'll be laughing, but then you'll be completely joking and have a serious look on your face." And I was like, "Well, it is what it is." And then she used to have the belief that I would tell people what to do, and I said, "No, I don't tell them to do anything, because if I tell them to do something, they don't listen to me. But if I suggest a course of action, you'd be surprised how many times they will take that course of action because I suggested it. Not that you have to do it, just that it's an option, you know."
Okay. All right, camera good. Camera's back. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Okay, so
I was reading the chat, trying to keep up.
yeah.
So, what do you think about the one planet that spins the opposite of all the rest of them? I mean, they're
Which
all going the same direction around the sun, but one spins like the opposite direction. Like if
yeah,
you're
it's pretty
looking like
strange.
down at the or down at our solar system, like from above the sun, they're all going around counterclockwise, I guess. And
Well,
then
it
one of the planets is spinning the opposite of the other eight.
which yeah, I mean, you try to think about why that is, and I'm sure there's an explanation that just not sitting here thinking about. But I'll tell you what, just the same, and I'm sure there's an explanation behind this one too. But the you flush a toilet in the northern hemisphere, it spirals one way.
Oh,
If you're down in Australia or
that
anywhere
doesn't.
south of, yeah, it flushes the other way. So
Well,
whatever reason it's for.
maybe they put the holes in the toilet in the opposite side, because
Okay.
I've had like I showed my fountain earlier, but it's dark outside. I've had the spirals go in both directions. It just depends on which one. Well, I shouldn't say that because I did notice something doing that, but I'm not going to reveal that because people need to experiment for themselves and come to their own conclusions. All I'll say is if you spin the water in one direction, you get more water in the vessel than the other direction, even though it's the same amount of water
So
going down both spirals.
is that something that you could recreate in like a controlled environment where
Yeah.
you can put something together where it will spiral one way versus the other?
Where do you think I got the big idea for my big manifold on my fountain out there?
Well, I would like to see that
Um,
because as far as I
that
was,
there, well, I
yeah, go ahead.
mean, okay, let me go back outside. My phone's charged enough that I shouldn't die 24% in the next 2 minutes. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Outside, outside, camera on, camera on. So this manifold, right? It's raining out. So this manifold, the center pipe, let's see that center pipe right there? It comes up,
yeah,
tees off, and then it tees again, and then it comes down these two pipes and down those two pipes. But then you see how they're reconnected up above to this pipe
right.
right here. This pipe right here goes to the bottle of Everclear, and
Okay.
you probably can't see it. You see the water bubbling in there,
I see something happening there. Yeah.
and so can you hear that?
Yes.
You're listening to the end of this hose,
Okay.
which is sucking air from all the way up here. Hold on a second. There we go. Got that back on there. So it sucks air through there, goes into the bottle, down into the water. The air bubbles come up through the pipe inside there. Bubbles up, circulates the water. The air is sucked out through the top of the bottle, comes up through the hose, goes into that manifold. And it's getting the vacuum from the water running down those four pipes, from the one pipe going up in the center. So
Right.
originally I had these four pipes connected to all these little nozzles right here, and some of them are different size because I had to figure out the air and water, and that's why I originally put that on there is because if I don't have that on there, it will it'll only send like water down two of the pipes instead of down all four pipes, and then you got to kind of level it out. And right now, if I put my bottles down around the pipes, I could collect the air under the water that's being pumped. You know what I mean? So I'm pumping air under the water, and then I can take that air that I collect under the water. I can blow up a balloon with it and lift weight with it
Okay.
from just a water pump. I'm just pumping
Now,
the water, and the water pumps the air.
now, what I would like to see you do, what I would like to see you do, if you're able to build this and show it, because I would like, I don't know if it's possible in the northern hemisphere to get something to spiral the opposite direction. So if
Yeah,
you
I
can do
can.
that,
That's what I'm saying is I can do it either direction. Just like it's raining out, so I can't like step past the overhang.
well,
So, but this one right now is spinning counterclockwise if you're looking from above, and then I can
okay,
point the nozzle. So if I point the nozzle, see how the hole's there. If I point it like that, it's going to go counterclockwise. If I point it like that, it'll go clockwise. And like I
so
said, if you do it equally, so they're all equal, everything's built the same, you will notice that one. So like right now, the water line is right here of the spiral. So one direction will be here, and then it might be there or there, depending on which direction. It's like there's like two different levels of the water that will spiral before it goes down the drain.
So when I say that though, what I mean is because essentially when we talk about the rotation, it's gravity. So not a jet of water forcing it one way or the other, but simply pulling the bottom out of that bottle and allowing it to
And,
spiral out of the bottle.
and I
And
said if you put the holes in the toilet going around the rim like that, it's going to spin one direction, and if you put the holes like that, it's going to spin the other direction.
okay, I'd like to see that an example of that. I don't know if you end up having the time to do that, but if you do, just video it because I would like to
But I
see that.
but I think it does naturally. I think it does want to naturally spiral one direction and the other direction because the Earth is traveling east to west. No, west to east. Yeah, we're traveling west to east.
Okay.
So you got this. So if it's going, the Earth is going this way. The water should be this way and this way. I know the Earth is traveling south. We're like on the downward spiral going south, and we came from the north. So if you jump in time, you gotta think of where the planet was farther north and where it was in relation to the local star. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm looking, trying to
I
see
mean,
if
it's not
there's
like
a.
if I had a time machine right now and I went a year in the future, but I'm not going to change my relation from all the other stars in the sky. Like I'm going to be in that same point to the rest of the universe, except for 1 year later. And I'll guarantee that I'm going to be in a different spot on Earth than I would have been the year before, or the year prior, or the year after. Like I'll end up here or here, but I won't be here, even though everything was spinning around like this, going south, from what I can tell. I mean, that's what I can, from what I can tell. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but
I mean,
it seems like everything wants to.
you sound pretty much on point because I'm bringing this up and I'll just show this. So this will dispel because essentially that thought process of northern southern hemisphere is there's nothing to that, and I'll just read real quick why that is. So you're right, but let me go ahead and read it here. So which direction does toilet water swirl at the equator? As boring as it may sound, the direction that the toilet bowl water swirls at the equator has more to do with the toilet's manufacture than it does any physics phenomena. It is a commonly held misconception that toilet water always drains counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere because of the Coriolis force of acceleration imparted by the Earth's rotation. The influence of Coriolis force on spin direction is real, but is generally only observable on very large scales, such as trade winds and hurricanes. The effects of Coriolis force has on a toilet bowl is much too small to actually see in a flushing toilet, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So yeah, down to the manufacturer. So the point that you made with the nozzle being any sort of direction,
Direction will
yeah,
influence the spiral. So,
okay,
but that was my
nice.
personal observance was that I had more water in two of my spirals than the other two spirals, and I offset them too. So one was like this one would be clockwise and that would be clockwise. This one would be counterclockwise and that one would be counterclockwise. So it was like there's a double. Just in case something was out of level or something, but everything was drilled to the you know, same precision. You know what I mean? I can put all these down here, and you'll notice, except for I'm using, I think, one of the nozzles in there maybe, but you see how they're all uniform. You know, make my drains uniform, and I get different effects. So you know, that's why I said I sometimes I don't like sharing things or saying things in my videos because I like people to tell me what they're observing. What do they see happening? You know what I mean? So
And then to kind of go to the other part of this that we were just talking about, the planet that does spin the opposite way of the Earth. We do have something on that from Scientific American, so I'll go ahead and read that real quick to answer that question. Why Venus spins the wrong way. Our neighboring
there we
planet
go.
Venus is an
Venus.
oddball in many ways. For starters, it spins in the opposite direction from most other planets, including Earth, so that on Venus the sun rises in the west. Not that it happens often. A day there lasts more than 243 Earth days, actually making it longer than a Venusian year, which is only about 224 Earth days long. Many scientists believe that the long days are a result of the sun's strong pull on the planet. Mercury, which is even closer to Sol, has fairly long days as well, three for every two Mercury years, but scientists are still puzzled by Venus's retrograde or backward rotation. Now, a team of scientists from the French Research Institute of Astronomy have proposed a new explanation published in this week's issue of Nature. Current theory holds that Venus initially spun in the same direction as most other planets and, in a way, still does. It simply flipped its axis 180 degrees at some point. In other words, it spins in the same direction as it always has, just upside down, so that looking at it from other planets makes the spin seem backwards. Scientists have argued that the sun's gravitational pull on the planet's very dense atmosphere could have caused strong atmospheric tides. Such tides, combined with friction between Venus's mantle and core, could have caused the flip in the first place. All right, so that answers
Uh,
that.
there's another one. I don't know if you'll be able to find it, but it was of a Russian cosmonaut like spinning a bolt, and in the middle of its spin, it just like flipped over 180 degrees and kept on spinning.
Right, right.
So,
So that
have you seen that one before?
it say that again.
It was a Russian cosmonaut in space, took
Mm-hmm.
like a bolt and just spun the bolt. So you had like the head of the bolt spinning up top, and the bottom of the bolt was spinning down bottom, and
Okay.
eventually it just like flipped 180 degrees, and then just
Yeah.
kept spinning.
Yeah, and I
You
guess
know, so
isn't that well,
I
isn't
can't
that
it,
similar?
I can't remember. I just know it's like what I watched had whoever explained it was showing a tennis racket and throwing it up in the air
Okay.
or something, and to explain it, and I don't know. It was just
Well,
it makes me think. You know what I mean?
I
Like
think that
what caused it to happen,
I think that makes. I mean, it's plausible. Obviously, we don't know for sure what the answer is to that. Scientific American. That's the explanation that they gave. And it
right?
seems plausible that that could be the reason why it doesn't spin backwards. It just flipped on its axis, and is the reason why. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. I couldn't say obviously for sure or not if it's the truth. But yeah, I mean, you walk away and you learn something, right? Because previously, the belief has been amongst a lot of people. I ain't gonna say everybody, but I've always been told that the whole equator thing and north and south of the equator and the differences there.
Have you ever seen
So,
the rolling rock fountains?
uh, rolling rock fountains?
Yeah,
No,
water
no.
fountains that have a rock that's rolling on the top of it. Anyways, I have this one rock that's like two different materials. It looks kind of like a cat's eye marble, but it's like big.
Okay.
And I had that on my spinning fountain, and I noticed after watching it for a few days, it was like the light and heavy side would like line up with the sun and moon going by in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing I could figure out. It was made out of two different materials, but it was just I don't know how to explain it. It's like one
Yeah.
of those you have to sit there and watch it for like a couple days, and then you'll notice like certain times of the day, like the heavy and light spot would be like on different sides of the spin, like the north and pole, south pole of the Earth, spinning, and then it would go and where the north and south was like tumbling.
Okay. Lex Diaz is
So
putting in the chat. It's called the intermediate axis theorem. Is that?
I don't
I
know.
think.
He might
Okay.
be right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the
I mean,
thing.
that's why we're all here because we can all exchange ideas.
Exactly, and I'm so glad. And that's the thing, and that's what the interesting part of listening in is that you may walk away with something that you didn't know before. And I'll tell you that every time we sit down and we talk about this, or just talk about things in general, I usually walk away with something to think about at the very least. You know what I mean?
Right?
So what we're gonna do real
Ooh,
quick here, we're gonna go
full
ahead
3 hours.
and get ready to wrap it up. Exactly. So, and we're right on time. So, Magneticus, we'll do this again, and
Of
we got to make
course,
sure that everybody is here for the Scientology show on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Let's get it
5
in.
p.m. Pacific Standard
5
Time,
p.m.
9
Please,
p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're
please set
somewhere in
the,
between,
or if
do the
you're on the
math.
other side of the globe. Yeah, exactly. So just please set the notifications and you'll definitely get the notifications. Magneticus, I'm about to get ready to wrap this up. So I
All right.
will put you in the back and take care,
Yep.
man.
Later, man.
All right. All right, guys. Yeah. So just want to go ahead and say, yeah, for anybody that's out there that is not in the chat tonight, definitely want to just welcome you here. Appreciate you coming in and consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell. We always go live. Call-in shows. We have great discussions. You know, the floor is always open for anyone to come in. Magneticus always definitely steps in like a champ. And we have, Area 51 hasn't been in lately, but, he would do it as well. We'd love to hear from the rest of you, too. You know what I mean? So definitely you guys consider jumping in and joining the conversation. So let me go ahead and get this all set up for us to get up out of here, right? So this is how we go home. Yes, JSCO 77 Scientology is actually not a religion. We're going to go ahead and definitely get into that for real. So Wednesday, we're going to be talking about that. As Tamalkman says, hit the likes. Definitely consider hitting the likes. Do appreciate you guys coming in. It's always a great time. It's stimulating your mind, working your mind, exercising this thing up here, right? As we get into our older years, we don't find ourselves doing that often, right? So I've always been a person that liked to exercise my mind, and this is right up my alley. So this is what I like to do, and just kind of brainstorming and just talking it through. I think that's the best way for us to formulate what it is we're trying to formulate, and to maybe not find the answers, but find plausible explanations at the very least, because I don't think we'll get the full answers until we actually cross that threshold and find out what's on the other side of this whole enlightening moment that we have in humanity's not even history, in humanity's future, and where we could go with this. Just imagine if we're talking on this level now without being fully enlightened. Imagine the conversations that we could have on the other side, right? So once we get fully enlightened, just imagine the level of conversation and intellect and perspective that we'll be able to give to a conversation. It's going to be an awesome thing. I hope I see it in my lifetime. If not, then we know at the very least our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and other relatives down the line will be able to experience it. And it'll be because of some of the first things, the people who came before us, who led us to the path we're at today, and then the conversations we're having today, which will lead into the future. So it's always a great time. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that. Consider joining the chat. And the number is always live, so consider calling. You can call anytime. Leave your experience on the voicemail if you want to. You could also join the stage when we do these live shows. So every Saturday we'll be doing these for sure. And we're going to reel this thing in, man. So other than that, it's been a total pleasure sitting here talking to you guys, man. I love you guys back to Mothman. We're gonna keep it going, and we're gonna do what we do. Definitely want to thank everybody for coming on in. It has been a pleasure. My name is Mr. Rob G. Catch me on After Hours tomorrow where Preston Dennett is going down. I'm gonna go ahead and give me some rest now. You guys have a great rest of your night. Thanks for coming to the Social Dig. Everybody take care. Until next time.